But our will is not yet extinguished. Not entirely.
Oh, spear right through the
In the
skull.
valley of Vendrian's well, those of us unwilling to bow to Kyros have banded together in defiance.
Okay, welcome to the Nerdscape Odyssey Geek Adventures in all forms. Like my post stated, I played the beginning of this prior, but I only recorded blank screen. I tested it out. I'm pretty sure I have that issue fixed. So without wasting any more time, let's get into it. The last thing I will say about it is it doesn't appear like you can, from what I understood, you could play this game as a quote-unquote good guy. So let's see how that plays out from beginning to end. So I'm very curious about it.
For over 400 years, the armies of Kyros the Overlord have swept across the known world. All who stood against them fell before their might. Even the Archons, women and men of immense power, were forced to kneel, chained to the Overlord's will.
Absolutely love the artwork in this.
Now Kyros' final conquest has come to our corner of the world, and two of the Overlord's armies compete for the honor of taking our lands. The elite disfavored, and the teeming horde of the Scarlet Corps. The voices of Narad, spymaster and archon of secrets, guides the fierce and undisciplined masses of the Scarlet Corps. With each battle, the Scarlet Corps grows stronger, as the defeated are given a simple choice: serve or die. Graven Ash, Archon of War and the Overlord's most loyal general, leads the disfavored. Though small in number, Kyros' ironclad legion has never met true defeat in open battle. Watching over the two generals is Tunon, the adjudicator, Archon of Justice, eldest of Kyros' minions. Tunon brings Kyros' laws to newly conquered lands, aided by the Fatebinders, judges and executioners of the Overlord's laws. You were among the youngest of the court of Fatebinders when Kyros' armies came to our
There
lands.
we are.
How could we have known that the fate of thousands would rest in your hands?
I will just say that is one epic opening. I absolutely love that. So we're choosing a War Mage today, so if you have a combination of wits and courage to be accomplished casters and warriors, those cursed with such a combination of talents are invariably pulled from their mundane lives and assigned to the armies of Archmages. Your earliest memories are a painful slog of training, study, lecture, and exhaustion, all the elements of being ready for battle. You knew better than to ask what became of your family, nor question the missives allegedly penned by their hand that were part of your earliest lessons in reading. When you reached adulthood, Tunon the Educator came to the barracks and laid claim to your life, seeing you as too valuable for the crucible of battle. The Archon of Justice deemed your life better spent dedicated to the art of punitive legal remedies. Though you had much to learn of the civil discourse, none could deny your bright future as Tunon's next great enforcer. Okay, let's do Conquest. Selecting Conquest option will allow you to play through Kyros' conquest of the tiers, choosing how your character was involved in the invasion. This gives you the most control over the starting state of the game and how other factions will react to your character. Let's start.
All the world has fallen to Kyros, and now the Overlord's eye is on the tiers, our home. The last corner of the world free of Kyros' reign. Two armies, the disfavored and the Scarlet Chorus, march south from the Northern Empire, the last realm to fall to Kyros a century prior. In the early days of 428, Kyros' armies arrive at the Gates of Judgment, the mountainous border that we tiersmen so long believed unassailable. Unable to agree on a unified plan of defense, The various leaders of the tiers sit and wait for each other to deal with the conquerors, until it's too late.
Okay, here we need to choose what we're doing when it comes to the conquest. So I'm just going to read this out, all these out here, and you'll get the lore. The bastard city stood on the northern border between Kyros' empire and the Tiers. Built upon a natural harbor at the crossroads between realms, the city was a nexus of commerce. To the Tiers, it was the center of all wealth. To a northerner, it was little more than a backwater trading post. Its symbolic status as a gateway to the continent made it a natural first target in Kyros' military conquest. Circumstances were ideal for you to prove your worth as a soldier in Kyros' army. Taking the city would send a message to the rest of the tiers. Kyros' will is insurmountable. The armies of Kyros took the battle to the gates of judgment, trumpeting the opening call of the conquest of the tiers. The two armies, the Disfavored and the Scarlet Chorus, brought their distinctive sense of order and chaos to the assault. You went to battle alongside the armies whose approach best suited your strengths. So I'm choosing the Disfavored because they're more of a military style army. They're dedicated, they're disciplined, and they don't need an atrocious amount because they have more skill. Standing shield to shield with Kyros ironclad elite, you advanced on the mercenary army purchased by the nobles of the bastard city. The Legion wanted to send a message to the tiers that superior breeding and disciplined training would win the day. Bastard City learned too late that military is earned and never bought. The mercenary army quickly found themselves outclassed by the superior tactics and formation of the Disfavored. Those few who lived up to the end of the battle were rounded up, the weak executed, and the strong enslaved to haul the army's wagons on the journey south. I love that, how it just topples over. To judge the enemy, you decide the fate of the soldiers captured in battle. You found a way to feed Kyros' army in enemy territory. So this would, other people can judge the enemy. So I'm going to feed the armies. Against the most optimistic projection, the Disfavored and Scarlet Chorus made short work of the local defenses. They did so well that the armies quickly outpaced their caravans. Troops were plentiful, but food was scarce. You only had time to execute one plan to secure provisions. Confiscate merchant caravans. Pillage farmlands. So I'm going to go with confiscate merchant caravans again because, although we're taking them over, doesn't mean we should absolutely slaughter everybody and steal their food. You authorized Disfavored troops to confiscate food and supplies from traveling merchant caravans. The tiers had already spent ignorant centuries glutting themselves outside of Kyros' law. After raiding the wagons of unsuspecting caravans and securing days' worth of provisions and supplies, the Disfavored found a cache of goods hidden behind a panel. They confiscated potions and elixirs bound for secret contacts within the bastard city. The hall filled the Disfavored larder with provisions for the following year and denied the defenders of the bastard city supplies that would be desperately needed in the siege to come. The armies of Kyros amassed around the bastard city, the first bastion of the tiers to fall. Both armies longed to storm the walled outpost, the Scarlet Chorus howling for plunder, and the Disfavored forming an unbreakable shield wall. Their prowess on the field of battle had carried them this far, but there was one more step before total victory. Both armies had inspired schemes to take the bastard city. Which did you support? Alright, assault the main gates. Not a good idea. Burn the city. Sabotage the city's defenses. Let's go sabotage the city's defenses. You led a mixed band of disfavored and Scarlet Chorus scouts over the city walls to sabotage its defenses. We gain this from it as well. Concealing shadows. Create a cloud of obscuring shadows and dust. For a short duration, enemies that use physical attacks against you have a significant increased chance to miss. During this time, your attacks will also be less effective. Taking the Bastard City. Though it was a challenge to earn the cooperations of both armies, their shared interest in taking down the city's defenses allowed your scouts to work as a single unit. Once your forces scaled the walls, a mixture of tactics and savagery destabilized the city guard, who quickly lost their command over the defenses and were forced to surrender. Lacking the support of archers or siege weapons, the Bastard City fell quickly to Kyros' superior might. Crumble, crumble, crumble. Next. Okay. So we have a choice here. Lothian's Crossing, or Apex. The Bastard City settled into a new state of normalcy with every tower displaying Kyros' banner. Your name was whispered alongside rumors of a decorated career to come. The armies divided into two fronts and migrated south. Tunon sent word that you were to join the next frontier of Kyros' conquest, either as judge and overseer of the settlement of Lothian's Crossing, or as a war advisor with the armies, advancing into the realm of Apex, Lothian's Crossing. Deposits of iron made the settlement of Lothian's Crossing a strategic war asset. Kyros sent the forge-bound smith mages of exceptional skill to establish a flow of weaponry. Tunon the Educator sent one of his Fatebinders to ensure the enforcement of Kyros' law. And then there's Apex. The troops of the mountain realm of Apex just stood idle in safety of their valley, biding their time as their neighbors in the Bastard tier fell. In the second year of war, a joint force of the disfavored and Scarlet Chorus crossed over the mountains to take control of the tier central valley. That's just taking something just to take it. So let's get the mineral deposits here, or the deposits of iron. Lothian's Crossing. Years ago, Lothian the Bold founded a small merchant town at the intersection of ancient old walls. A pact between the settlers and a mercenary company meant that caravans were able to travel without fear of bandits or bane, and the town thrived in modest insignificance. Lothian's Crossing drew Kyros' attention for the iron deposits in the surrounding hills. With the region under Kyros' control, the northern smith mages could set up workshops to refine ore and arm the disfavored with the finest weapons in the known world. The Archon of Secrets dismantled the mercenary support with a generous bribe, taking the crossing in a bloodless victory. Tunon dispatched you to travel alongside Kyros' forces and bring order to the region. More choices. Iron must flow. You found a clever solution to improve production of iron weapons and armor. Cult of Siren. The Archon of Song's power ensnared the mind of a disfavored soldier. Someone else can deal with that. I'm going to try and get more weapons and armor. I'm not going to really worry about one guy. Sometimes you have to sacrifice the few to benefit the many. Kyros Smith mages worked day and night to create weapons. No one faulted their dedication, yet production was low. The plans that came to light proved divisive to the disfavored and Scarlet Chorus. On one hand, any additional manpower was needed for fighters, not forgers. On the other hand, the celebrated weaponry of Kyros' armies needed to be fiercely guarded. Draw from the Scarlet Chorus recruits. Conscript tribe of beastmen. Let's do that. Because we don't really want to use up our best fighters just for guard duty. You conscripted help from a local tribe of beastmen. Their strength would more than offset their disobedience. The disfavored protests that savages have access to the secrets of iron, but their voices were few compared to the support of the Scarlet Chorus. That was cool. The Scarlet Chorus were overjoyed to learn of a beastman conscription and graciously lent their support to your cause. The local beastmen were subdued and yoked to iron-bearing wagons, where their boundless strength and tirelessness proved critical to the smith mages. The disfavored grew agitated about exposing the secrets of iron to savages. You attempted to allay their concerns, but your words fell flat before a stubborn, uncompromising audience. I'm starting to think the disfavored are a bunch of racists. Natives aren't savages. Now, let's see here. Pick of the armory. As the forges improved production, both armies demanded preferential treatment, or a guardian's due. Tensions rose as disfavored and Scarlet Chorus soldiers rubbed elbows with mercenaries hired to guard the forges. Let's do that, instead of treating one of them better than the other. Kyros armies used Lithian's Crossing as a reprieve from the war. The city grew more crowded as a mercenary army hired by the Archon of Secrets occupied the barracks, where they drained resources and escalated tensions. The disfavored wanted nothing to do with the sellswords, but the Scarlet Chorus sought to invite them into this fold. Segregate the mercenaries, challenge their worth. Well, the thing with a mercenary is they always go to the highest bidder, but it definitely sounds like Kyros is always the highest bidder. So let's challenge their worth. You let the Scarlet Chorus and the mercenaries engage in combat games and challenges and allowed laws against revelry and merriment to go unenforced. Those who won the contest took a greater share of provisions and sellswords of merit were invited to join Kyros' army. The games proved an excellent opportunity to relieve tensions, settle disputes, and guarantee future cooperation between the two forces. Any grievances were resolved by ritual combat, messier than your education, but arguably more entertaining for those outside of the arena. The mercenaries who proved themselves worthy opponents found reward in joining the ranks of the Scarlet Chorus, where many of them carved out positions among the elite fighters. Looks like that was the right choice. Tragedy struck when a mercenary hired by the voices of Nerat injured a forge-bound artisan, leaving him unable to practice his craft. Tunon ordered the mercenaries to leave the city in the hands of Kyros' more responsible servants. Only a token garrison could be left behind while the armies returned to the front. As the disfavored Scarlet Chorus showed increasing tension and hostility towards each other, Tunon decreed it best that only one force control the crossing. Well, the Scarlet Chorus had more bright ideas to get the crossing, so I'm going to let them control it. The Scarlet Chorus flooded Lithian's Crossing with overeager and undisciplined recruits. In the first few days of occupation, settlers suffered under rampant theft, murder, rape, and arson. Oops! By the following week, the hordemen who sowed chaos for personal gain were dead, strung up by the more disciplined half that took up the reins as the self-appointed bosses of Lithian's Crossing. Thank God. Thank God someone took control of that. The Forge-bound continued to mint iron weapons and armor, which Kyros merchants carted to the disfavored garrisons elsewhere in the tiers. Shipments were light or sometimes absent. The Scarlet Quartermaster claimed ignorance of the matter. Yeah, I'm sure you didn't know. With the mercenaries expelled and Lithian's Crossing under new leadership, Kyros' forces congratulated themselves on bringing order to the settlement and guaranteeing a productive flow of resources. Over the course of this diversion, the army front advanced further into the tiers. Your skills were needed in the realm of Azure, Stalwart, or the Vellum Citadel. You may choose only one of these locations. Kyros' conquering gaze fell upon the Vellum Citadel, its treasures, its knowledge, and its secrets. I'm going with that one, because knowledge is power. Vellum Citadel was an archive and library of massive scale. Its inhabitants were known as the School of Ink and Quill, a circle of mages that, centuries ago, carved out their own mountainous refuge on lands unsettled by other major realms. Legend said that the Citadel housed a treasure trove of arcane knowledge. The Overlord spies infiltrated the school and confirmed as much. The time was ripe to send a detachment to the great library fortress and force the scholars to yield to Kyros. Chain of Command, a peaceful surrender turned bloody. Siren's song ensnared some stealthy sages. Let's go with that instead of a bloody fight. Siren, Archon of Song, used her power to enthrall enemy mages who crept beyond the citadel walls. After Kyros' forces rounded up the arcane practitioners, the disfavored began executing the new captives before they could share dangerous knowledge, a crime under Kyros' law, with the Scarlet Chorus. Gotta punish the disfavored because we need that knowledge. That's why we came here. You punish the disfavored for executing the mages bound to the Scarlet Chorus, ordering that several disfavored soldiers be given to the Archon of Song as their personal bodyguards. The wisdom of sages and knowledge of the Vellum Citadel were too important to silence. The disfavored balked at entering the Archon's service, but your ruling left them no recourse. Archon Siren delighted in having new toys to play with and promptly enthralled her personal guard. You spotted them in camp days later, following their new mistress with wide-eyed devotion. Spot the Spymaster's agents. Suspicion arose when sages surrendered. Or, right of command. Siren composed songs of strength and provoked bloody slaughter. Let's go with Suspicion arose when sages surrendered. A group of enemy mages surrendered to the disfavored, claiming to be spies loyal to the voices of Nerat. No one in the army could verify the claim. The disfavored readied to interrogate the mages, but the Scarlet Chorus protested, demanding that the prisoners be given to their custody. They couldn't risk the voices of Nerat's secrets falling to the wrong hands. I mean, you're both in Turon's army. Why would the disfavored be the wrong hands? But I mean, again, they were calling the natives savages, so I can kind of understand. That's a hard choice, actually. They claim to be from the voices of Nerat, and by the way, the voices of Nerat, known in his official capacity of the Archon of Secrets, the voices of Nerat is equal parts genius and madman. Rumored abound that he can steal the minds of others, though few, if any, are alive to confirm as much. The subjects of his interrogation are never heard from again, and the Archon is able to recall the memories of his victims with startling accuracy. You can't verify the claim. You kind of have my hands tied. I can't give them to the Scarlet Chorus unless you can verify the claim. Because you could be the enemy just lying. I have to do this. Though it meant angering the Scarlet Chorus, the mages were disfavored property. They remained in custody while you reviewed their claims. You took time poring over mages' confiscated documents, finding no blatant messages to the voices of Nerat or anyone else. You resolved to question the mages yourself. When you reached their cells, you discovered the bodies, each of them slaughtered in a grisly display. Tense discussion and accusations followed, but with no evidence to suggest a responsible party, you were forced to let the matter drop. Yeah, I kind of figured that was going to happen. No shock there. Food and morale dwindled as the siege party realized the enemy would win this war of attrition. Tunon sent word that Kyros' patience had run thin. The Overlord would cast an edict of fire on the enemy. The parchment arrived in a slender case of engraved iron. Written on it, the words of a spell powerful enough to destroy the Vellum Citadel. You had the choice of when to read the edict. Reading it at sunrise would offer your enemies no warning at all of the devastation to come. You could also wait until sunset, giving them ample time to flee or make amends. I'm assuming, yeah, I kind of assume that they would want to give no warning and slaughter absolutely everybody. But I'm not going to do that, because there could be women, there could be children, there could be innocents, and they don't deserve to die, so I'm giving them 1 day's warning. Claiming they still had spies within the Citadel, the Scarlet Chorus urged you to warn the mages of the Overlord's edict. To warn up the mages of the Overlord's edict, sorry. Granting their request, you met with the enemy under a blue flag of peace and warned them of their doom, giving the Chorus spies and the enemy a chance to run. You confronted the mages with a warning and hoped the message was received. The hour before sunset, numerous figures were spotted fleeing the Citadel. As the sun dipped under the horizon, you read the words of the edict. The earth shook, and red-orange light glowed from the foundations of the sprawling citadel. Bubbling up from under the library, a torrent of lava heaved with explosive force, gushing from windows and between loose bricks, melting winding trenches in the surrounding land. Days later, the flames still raged on. The conflagration continually fed and renewed by the power of the edict. Crumble, crumble, crumble! The armies of Kyros left the devastation of the Vellum citadel in silence. From that day forward, the Tears came to know the once noble citadel as the Burning Library. This was an undisputed loss of resources, knowledge, culture, and life, but a message had been sent. The Overlord will not tolerate defiance. You didn't have long to rest before Tunon called you into service once more. You were one of the last to depart from the mountains, and as you journeyed off, you spotted a few campfires in the mountains. They were mere specks, dwarfed by the inferno. The last gasps of survivors, or perhaps looters from Kyros armies, bored and daring enough to pick through the ashes.
The year is 431, and Kyros' invasion has shattered all major opposition in the tiers. The younger realms, the bastard tier, the free cities. All who defied Kyros lay broken by battle or bowed in surrender. The two armies of the Overlord, the Disfavored and the Scarlet Chorus, now control our lands. But our will is not yet extinguished. Not entirely.
Oh, spear right through the
In the
skull.
valley of Vendrian's Well, those of us unwilling to bow to Kyros have banded together in defiance. Violating an oath of surrender from 2 years prior, we have staged a bloody uprising, murdering the Disfavored and Scarlet Chorus garrison in a midnight assault.
Bastards! Destroy
With their
my
main
army.
forces spread across the tiers, the Disfavored and Scarlet Chorus redeploy to Vendrian's Well to crush the resistance. But months pass with no definitive battle. As disagreement and discord paralyze the Archons, we bide our time and wait for our message of insurrection to spread across the tiers.
I do have to give the artists of this game their due. They did a fantastic job.
The Overlord is not amused, and Kyros has one message for the Archons: crush the Oathbreakers or die. Kyros backs this threat with an edict, a magical commandment that can slay all in the valley should the order be ignored. The honor of proclaiming this edict fell to you. Sent across the mountains to Vendrian's Well, you carry the Overlord's edict to read before the Archons.
Now you just look at the color saturation and the color palette that they chose. Just absolutely phenomenal.
As you finally make your way through the winding mountain passes into the valley, the ground trembles, and Kyros' magic seals the way behind you.
Even the style kind of looks like anime.
You are trapped in Vendrian's Well, with Kyros' armies and the Oathbreakers. The only way to survive is to fulfill the terms of the Overlord's edict, in any way that you can.
crying blood. Love it.
in any way that you can.
Fatebinder Tyler, I presume. We've been expecting you.
Yes.
Kyros, the Overlord, be praised. When I heard the avalanche, I feared the valley was sealed with you on the other side. The disfavored warrior claps her gauntlet to her breastplate, the traditional salute of her legion. We were told a Fatebinder was coming, and though our commanders will not say why, it seems obvious. Graven Ash, the voices of Narat can agree on nothing, least of all battle plans to wipe out the Oathbreakers. I trust you bring orders from Tunon that will break this deadlock. Can you hear the hum in the air, that glow around the rocks? The avalanche is Kyros magic. The Overlord has sealed the valley. Your senses see more than mine, good Fatebinder. I do not pretend to know much about such things, but if that was Kyros magic and you're here on important business, well, you don't have to be the Archon of Secrets to guess that you're here to proclaim an edict. What does Kyros have in store for the enemy? 10 years of festering plague? An edict of twisted bones? I come bearing an edict of Kyros. Our soldiers will complete their task or die. The edict is leveled against us? Her eyes widen with fear. Posture slackens. But the Scarlet Chorus prevents us from taking action. Why would the Overlord punish both of... She clears her throat with a sigh. Forgive me. It is not my place to question. We should have conquered the enemy within weeks of arriving in the valley. The delay reflects poorly on all of us. Your first instinct is to blame the Scarlet Chorus? No wonder Kyros resorts to an edict to enforce order. Yes, well, her eyes shift to the side. There has indeed been little goodwill between our armies, and you are right. When we act as we do, what choice do we give the Overlord? She takes a deep breath, nodding as she exhales. And you are right, I should not cast blame so freely, especially not when talking to a servant of justice. My apologies. Well, you've traveled a long way. I won't keep you any further. I'm sure the Archons will want to hear from you at... Her voice falls silent, her attention snapping eastward with alarm. Did you just hear that? More runners. Third time this week, the Oathbinders keep trying to send messengers through the mountains to gather help from the outside of the valley. She points over to the collapsed path by which you arrived. But they're a bit too late for that now. Come, let's show these Oathbreakers a good fight.
Will do. I got it. Not dead yet.
Blam. Okay, I am hoping that combat gets a little bit quicker as I level on. Rockside blocks the path ahead. You can squeeze through a narrow gap between the stones, or you can attempt to push off one of the boulders on your way out. I do not have the athletics, so let's squeeze through the gap.
That's
There we go. Meeting you.
win company.
Okay. Rust.
On it. I got
Shot.
Really? On it.
Yeah, and that's weaken you, so he's not taking full damage from both of you. Shot for you.
I got it.
Die, you Oathbreakers. Rebel scum. Thank God. They have nothing for me to loot. Don't bother with me. Go down to the pass. Drastus. The soldier clutches his gut, winces, and you can see a hint of entrails between his fingers. Ew, entrails. Man, I'm surprised he's alive. You're wounded, and it's not trivial. He laughs through clenched teeth. This? But a scratch. I've seen twice his worths 10 times over. He doubles over in pain, gagging and shivering. If you'll just let me help. I said I'm fine. The soldier moans and shakes his head. Raven Ash protects. You go on and help the others. Raven Ash protects is that's kind of something that that his favorites say. Raven Ash is their leader, and they believe that he somehow keeps them alive through mortal injuries.
Try and catch me, worm.
A young Scarlet Fury weaves around the Vendrian Guard attackers. Avoiding their weapons with fluid grace, she nods to and acknowledges you. The Vendrian Guard is an army of the landlocked realm of Apex, defenders of the central region of the Tiers. Named for House Vendrian, the ruling dynasty of Apex, the Guard has a reputation for being resilient and stubborn as the mountains themselves. Ostensibly beaten by Kyros armies and forced to surrender in 429, Vendrian Guard resurfaced in 431, brazenly defying the Overlord's rule. A breathless enemy soldier passes a glance to her countryman. This one's crazy. Too much lead in her water. We should cut her losses and turn back.
Ha! Fatebinder. Here at last. Care to join me in putting these cowards out of their misery?
She nods to the armed soldiers bearing down on her. That depends. Who are you?
Serious? I came to escort you to camp when... Damn it! Kill first, questions later.
She nearly ducks a swipe from the Vendrian blade. You look like you're handling yourself well enough.
That I am, but I could use someone watching my back.
For the realm of Apex, charge! The Vendrian Guard level their weapons and advance. Cast weak on them. Burning iron on them.
I'm not here to make friends.
Oh, play. Kablam.
Me. Phew. I can tell you didn't spend the conquest in a diplomat's tent.
The fighter surveys the fresh corpses and nods with satisfaction.
I'm versed, by the way. But there are more important things to take care of than introduction. Those Vendrian Guard we killed didn't come alone.
She gestures to the skirmish unfolding in the past below, shaking her head. Not so fast. First, explain what you're doing
The voices of Nerat told me to intercept you at Edgering Ruins before you busied yourself solving all of the camp's problems. Guess I was too late.
She smirks.
You're due for a meeting with the Archons, but we should handle the small matter of this ambush first.
Why are the Vendrian Guard attacking now?
My guess? The Vendrian Guard are testing our strength in battle, learning how we perform before they organize a real offensive. That, or they're really, really desperate to get beyond the mountains and couldn't wait until nightfall.
You fight like a storm. What's your role in the army?
A Scarlet Fury, one of the elite killers of our ignoble gang. You'll
They
see
have
more than a few
elites?
of us around
Cool,
camp,
good to
but
know.
don't let that fool you. We're a rare breed.
It's good to know that not all the elites belong to the disfavored, seeing as they're rather racist.
Most of the soldiers in the Scarlet Chorus are little more than farmers and children armed with rusted forks. Makes them easier to control. The voices of Nerat called his best fighters to this siege. There must be something important about Vendrian's well, though don't ask me what. The Archon isn't in the habit of spilling secrets.
I'm ready if you are.
Eager. I like that. Before we go, you might search among the remains of our fallen comrades. Wherever they're bound, I doubt they'll miss their boots, much less any rings or any useful iron they might be clutching.
I see your point. Nice and practical.
No reason to pity the fallen. Before long, we might wish we'd joined them here. But at least we'll enjoy heavy pockets and warm toes.
Exactly. I mean, the dead don't need their all their armor and weapons and magical items.
For the voices of Nerat!
Verse furrows her brow and focuses down on the battle to come. Eyes forward, no looking back. The Ventrian warrior's roars, with his phalanx held high, his words largely lost over the din of combat. Stand aside, or your funeral will be over the side of the bluff. Seeing you squarely in his path, the soldier points his weapon your way. I applaud your bravery, but I implore you to end this foolishness and lay down your arms. Not a chance. Vice surrender, I'm as good as dead. At least we can drag some of the Kyros' chosen along for a short journey into the void. He signals his men to charge. The sound of chanting rises from the south, drawing his attention. Scarlet Chorus reinforcements, hurry! Run down the Oathbreakers. Let none escape. From the red mob of reinforcements from the south, a blood chant emerges at the head of the rabble, the ornamental crest of the staff pulsing with crimson tones. Signing signals of magic and wordlessly moving her mouth, the blood chant prescribes a series of spells into the air. A red glow surrounds the Vendrian Guard warriors as the chanter's magic worms its way into their minds, blinding them with rage. Hold position, all of you. You there, keep to the path. Warrior gestures along the canyon trail, but as soldiers turn their attention to the Scarlet Chorus, roaring challenges. No, don't engage them. We need to run. His orders falling on deaf ears, the warrior reluctantly readies his weapon. Where did you go? Okay. You look like the heaviest armor, so let's do that. You. Go big guy down.
Damn thing could pierce cloth.
Got a head start on him. Come quick, we have a situation on the cliffside. They have the commander. Well, I'm guessing the commander that's favored's in a heap load of trouble here. Well, you're the last man standing. Store your weapons, or we'll find out how long a man screams for you hidden in the ravine down below. Cornered between a precipitous drop and a band of angry soldiers, the Oathbreaker warrior holds a disfavored officer at knife point. Skewer him! No worry, not for me! Graven Ash will protect. The disfavored officer winces, blood spewing from the seams of his bracers and cuirass. You heard the man. He plainly invited you to use that little blade of yours. What are you waiting for? Permission from your pimp? This blade? With a jerk of the knife, he slices off a clump of Dress's matted hair. You're so eager to see your ally dead. Just step closer. Release the prisoner and you might know the inside of a cell. I'm sure that cell will have daily visits from the Scarlet Chorus cats thirsty for a bit of torture. He shakes his head, pulling the captive closer. I'd rather take my chances with death. Now that's unfair. I assure you, it's more of a hunger for torture than a thirst. But you are correct. We have no charity left for those who have laughed at our mercy once before. The blood chanter slams her staff on the ground, curling her fingers with a quivering hand. If you fools won't deal with them, maybe I will. Whatever you're thinking, don't. Not until Commander Drastus is safe. Well, I don't have the athletics to do this, so it's either attack or tack. We have to help Drastus. Tyrell dashes the blade. Tyrell dashes the blade across Drastus' throat. Blood gushes out from the commander's neck, drowning out his final words. Tyrell points the bloody knife toward you. Death to Kyros. Death to the Archons. The moment Drastus' body falls to the ground, the disfavored soldiers pounce forward, quickly reducing the Oathbreaker to a bloody mess. 'Tis 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 Drastus' death will be a setback. He was a fine steward of the steadfast. Aurora swallows her lips pursed in anger. With the losses we've sustained in this war, I'm the next in command. I will aspire to be half the leader Drastus was. One of the soldiers found some mage blather on the war oathbreakers. Aurora holds up a rolled sheath of parchment. I figured you, being trained in letters, could perhaps. Aurora looks down at the papers, her face blushing, and quickly thrusts the sheath towards you. Literacy is rare in the North. Very few disfavored soldiers know more than a few written words. Literacy is uncommon in the tiers, but the nobility of the younger realms have taught literacy to the first-born noble for centuries. Now with many of these disenfranchised nobles have fallen in with the uprising, and they rely on written messages, knowing most of Kyros' forces will be unable to decipher the contents. Examine the parchment. Repeating the same message in different written scripts, the parchment explains the Vendrian Guard's desire to overthrow Kyros' archons and rout out their armies from the tiers. The pages aren't addressed to any specific reader, but rather openly invites all who remain loyal to the younger realms to gather at Vendrian's Well. Recruitment material, they were trying to bring more traitors to the fight. There were likely other groups trying to flee the valley, but we can rest knowing we stopped this group. A shame it's at such a high cost. The Archons are expecting you at the disfavored war camp. When you are ready to leave, exit by the southeast gate and keep going that way through the foothills. You can't tell me what to do. The prisoner's from the Tarkus clan. Then he's not just any oathbreaker, he's one of their leaders. Aurora signals to her men, dragging her hand across her neck. No mercy for those who foment rebellion. Find a post and string him up. If his wounds don't kill him, thirst, starvation, and infection will do the rest. We must give the vanquished enemy a chance to serve. That is our law. Smiling with recognition at your presence, the chanter points your way. Just ask the governor here. You understand the wisdom of the Scarlet Chorus. The Overlord does not wish to rule over a ruined crater. We must conquer, but if we show no mercy, we'll have conquered a mountainous stretch of nothing. That's actually pretty wise words. I tire of this nonsense. You keep recruiting these oathbreakers, then you fail to inflict order, and they just defect. And we have to fight them all over again. I will not let another one of these South snobs come back to haunt us. Well, I insist this oathbreaker be taken to the voices of Nerat, leaving us at an impasse. Fortunately, we have Fatebinder here to settle the matter for us. The chanter turns to you, an expectant smile creeping across her face. So, what say you? What should become of this prisoner? Well, you should be allowed. It is law, so the chorus should be allowed to its chance to recruit the new warriors. I mean, I'm supposed to be a governor. I'm supposed to uphold the law, and it's the right thing to do, not just frickin' executing people. He's right. If you execute everybody, you'll just have a stretched mountain of nothing. You'll rule over a crater, a pile of dead bodies. What good is that? If that is how you wish it, the prisoner will go to the Scarlet Chorus, but mark my words, treating these curs with kindness has been and continues to be a mistake. If it will calm your nerves, I assure you this one won't be put on the battlefield. Maine snaps her fingers loudly, gesturing for her gang to listen. Make sure the prisoner is taken to the voices of Nerat. Aurora gives you a solemn nod. Until next time, Fatebinder, I know you have important business in the valley. No point in keeping you. She snaps to a salute. For the glory of Kyros. Here we go. What's going on here? Hail, Fatebinder, the disfavored scouts nods at your approach. Camp's up ahead, don't mind us, just clearing out the rabble. I still don't understand what I've done to offend. I respect that these are now disfavored lands, and I'm happy to give the Legion a proper toll. But she's going on about trading rights. What nonsense is that? I am not allowed to trade one thing for another. It's not like I'm selling weapons to angry peasants or anything of the sort. The Overseer regulates all trade. If you lack the proper permits, your goods are forfeit. A trade permit? Well, to whom do I speak for such a thing? Not us, not our problem. Maybe march your butt to Bastard City and plead your case before Tunon. We'll lighten your burden and relieve you of your wares first. That should make the long trek a bit more bearable. Anything to be argued before Tunon may be argued before me. What's there to discuss? We should kill this mongrel, and the warrior pauses, placing her hand in front of her mouth. If the Fatebinder wishes to weigh in on the matter, courtesy demands we listen. The soldier clears her throat, looking at you expectantly. This is a disfavored matter, but I know the agents of the court do love to throw their judgments around. Well, you could rob me now and have my supplies today, the merchant grabs a flask from his cart, or you can leave me alive and have fermented honey all year long. I even know a few family recipes for painkillers and healing droughts. Certainly any army will need those. He uncorks a small ceramic vial, and the aroma of cloves and lanolin assaults your nose. Lore 30. What a coincidence! Your family recipe for wound paste smells just like a Scarlet Fury's own concoction. Where'd you steal this? The merchant tenses up, face flushing red. I don't know what you're getting at. I think this tearsman needs a little roughing up. Slow down. I'll tell you everything. Just don't hurt me. I found most everything in the forest of the valley. I'd keep my head low when I heard sounds of combat. Then I'd take a look and grab whatever wasn't claimed by the first victors. So then you stole from the disfavored dead? How else did you get your hands on that iron? The scout points to the merchant's cart. You would come here and sell us our own armaments? If anything has an owner, I will return it, but this iron would have turned to rust if left down in the mud of the battlefield. The disfavored are few in number. Is that not right? You need a man like me to gather up supplies that would otherwise go to waste. The disfavored will tolerate your presence, but you will pay them handsomely for such charity. We will? The disfavored soldier clears her throat with a cough before repeating herself in a more upbeat manner. We will. It sickens me to make an exception of this vulture. But if you supply the disfavored without profit, perhaps this indiscretion is for the best. It's not like our larders are overflowing. A work slave to scrounge provisions would be an asset. Thank you for interceding on my behalf. I know my life will now depend on showing the disfavored due gratitude for suffering my presence. If I must grovel a bit to earn my daily grain, so be it.
Right.
Slow down a moment. I know we're both eager to watch the Archons bicker over tactics like a pair of magpies, but I need to ask you something first. What's that? The voices of Narat told me that you've come as a mediator. Considering the source, well, I can't help but feel I'm only hearing half the story. So let's have it out. What's so special about you? Subterfuge, did the voice of Narat ask you to spy on me? At a loss for words, Verse regards you with a momentary unease. Well, are you even surprised? He's the Archon of Secrets. Knowing in advance is his business, so is snatching up any advantage over Graven Ash. Those two compete like a couple of new recruits for a spot around the fire. It's nothing nefarious. The voices is just curious as to why you're here. If you wanted to know more, you wouldn't be able to suss it out that easily. He would have sent one of his scarier peons in my stead. What else has the voices of Narat told you? Only that I could find you in the Edgering ruins. Truthfully, I could have picked you out from a crowd. You're the only one of us who hasn't spent the last few months bathing in the stink of the Matinee River. She laughs, but there's a forced nature to it. I'm here to deliver an edict from Kyros. That makes crazy kind of sense, considering how long the siege has taxed the armies. I can understand why Kyros would send you with an edict to speed things along. Have you read it? Do you know what it says? The Archons must claim the Ascension Hall by Kyros' Day of Swords, or all will perish. Ascension Hall is the traditional throne room of the Queens of Apex. The throne stands directly beneath the mountain spire, in the center of the citadel in the valley of the Vendrian's Well. Kyros' Day of Swords. The 26th day of every month or span is Kyros' Day. It is a day of holiday and rest for all within the Overlord's empire. Each Kyros day is the last day of its span and is referred to by the span's name, the Kyros Day of Swords. Therefore, is the 26th day of the span of the swords. One more thing for the Archons to fight over. Well, thanks for cluing me in. If Kyros sends any lightning our way, just tell me where to duck. I really ought to be meeting with the Archons. The war tent is just past the center of camp. She nods toward the northeast. One last thing, be careful around these disfavored types. They take their work seriously, and most have suffered too many blows to the head. Humble grave lies before you. Battered sword has been used to mark
A modest grave for the Archon's son, Brennix. We don't bother with funeral rites in the chorus. No point in thanking conscripts for their duty.
Well, look at you. Our gatecrasher from the court is still in one piece. The guard pounds his chest plate and salute. Welcome to disfavored camp. Always happy to have an honored ally pay us a visit. Salute, Graven Ash protects. That he does. The warrior nods in approval, then taps twice on the gate to signal your arrival. Be well, Fatebinder. Glory to Kyros. Hail to you, guardian of the law. The man dressed in merchant finery greets you with a smile. If you have a few access rings weighing you down, best unburden yourself before battle. You know that if the disfavored suffer a merchant in their camp, that must be a man selling only the finest provisions and armaments. He points to his collection of shields, rations, satchels, wineskins, and other sundries. Take a look and see if something interests you. How did you come to work with the disfavored? Hard work and good suppliers. When Two Nuns' men came to my village, all merchants were given different lists of what they were and weren't allowed to trade. He smiles, hands on his hips. In Kyros wisdom, my record must have been a good one, because I was given the right to trade in all manner of goods. Most importantly, arms. Not a lot of merchants can legally sell weapons. It was like that even before Kyros, though.
There's 4 reports of avalanches in the mountains now. The Tiersmen can barely count past 9. They have neither the capacity nor the cause to close off the mountain passes. Either way, that leaves the 2nd and 4th cohort trapped outside the valley.
The Archon of War pounds a staff on the ground to punctuate his words. A large and imposing man to begin with, his profile is made larger still by his hulking suit of armor that hums with mystic energy.
Or it's the work of your perfidious Earthshakers. Only a fool would not suspect a traitorous Archon of poisoning the mind of his students with sedition. We would have killed the Earthshakers Guild for their master's treachery, but I'm sure you have some perfectly valid reason for allowing them to live as your pawns.
The Archon of Secrets passes a scepter between his hands as he speaks, twirling the rod in hypnotic circles. You hear the voices in your head. Well, hello there, Fatebinder. We'll be with you in just one moment. Emerald luminescence seeps into the seams of the Archon's ragged red robes. The glow is the most noticeable where his neck ought to be. His mask seems to float and spin, never pivoting or bending naturally.
Hey, watch yourself. When these two get going, you don't want to get between them.
Verse whispers fearfully as she beholds the Archons. You know what? I'm just going to remain silent. I feel like walking in here like I'm king shit would probably be the wrong thing.
I always
silent.
know you've run out of things to say when you resort to mocking my vassals. If we are to speak of treachery, why is it that my scouts see the Scarlet Chorus warriors defecting back to the Vendrian Guard? Your fearsome reputation has gone flaccid, for it seems you cannot control your soldiers, or perhaps you simply choose not to.
And sometimes when you're silent and let fools talk, they'll show you what big fools they can actually be. Let's see these people make fools of each other. My lords, the Fatebinder has arrived. The disfavored commander raises her voice, trying with little success to speak over the Archons. Perhaps we could table this discussion and let our guest speak.
Speaking of strategic failures, who was it that insisted the valley would need only a token garrison? For some strange reason, we can't seem to recall which balding halfwit grossly underestimated the enemy. Thoughts?
That's a good point. That was the disfavored. The Archon of Secrets twirls his scepter in a twisting loop. You hear the voices in your head. Can you hear us, Fatebinder? Cough if we have your attention. His leather-wrapped hands flipping the heavy rod with an effortless flow. I'll cough audibly for him.
And I thought you had left agents within these Tearsmen when they surrendered. Either you failed to see this coming, or you knew and let it happen. Incompetent or in cahoots, either way, this mess has your filthy stink all over it.
You see, the voices of Nerat had a good point. They stated it would only be a token garrison needed. And him stating that it's his fault is showing that he's not able to take accountability, which is the mark of a poor leader. The Archon of War lurches forward, resting his weight on his war maul as blue luminescence crackles around his armor.
We look forward to seeing you explain to Tunon why the Archon of War could not close the vice on this trivial little insurgency. When we are crowned the ruler of the Tears, we shall have this place renamed to Ash's Folly in your honor.
I like him. That's pretty good. Ash's Folly. The voices of Nerat tosses his scepter into the air. You hear the voices in your head. Good. Now pay attention. You might miss something, catching it as it descends back down. I'll remain silent. Let them make fools of each other some more.
If I could trust the information I get from you and your conscripted mouth breathers, perhaps I'd order my cohorts around a bit more aggressively. But last time I trusted your all-clear report, my troops failed to come home.
Oh, Ash, old boy. If you're going to have a little sob every time one of your nieces or nephews dies to the Tearsmen, perhaps we should have Siren sing you some calming lullabies to help you cope with your grief.
The voice actors in here are absolutely phenomenal. Let's see who Siren is. Siren is the Archon of Song, and the youngest Archon sent to conquer the Tears. Young and inexperienced, Siren is sworn to the voices of Nerat, who uses her powers of charm and manipulation to swell the ranks of the Scarlet Chorus with volunteers. The Archon flips his scepter 3 times around. You hear the voices in your head. Take care that you don't learn too much, Fatebinder. An access of knowledge, of curiosity even, can earn unwanted attention. Humming gleefully. Hold your tongue. I will not have you denigrate the honor of our fallen brethren. The commander's hand moves to the hilt of her blade, though the weapon stays sheathed. I'd be doing us all a favor if I cracked open that excuse for a head. They bicker like children, do they not? The fifth eye's grating tenor pierces the tension in the tent, and all eyes land on the crimson spear. I meant only to say welcome to our guest, the Fatebinder. The armored retainer bows with rushed and elegance. The armored retainer bows with rushed and elegance, then rises to a salute, and not a moment too soon. Ah! Why didn't you speak up sooner, my Lord Archons? The governor of Lithian's Crossing has finally arrived. I beg you to cease arguing for a moment. Bow to the Archons. Apologies for the sudden entrance. I've traveled long to be here.
Ah, the fire starter has arrived. Welcome. Our agents tell us such lovely stories of what you did at the Vellum Citadel. Have you come bearing another fragment of Kyros' wrath in tow?
In 430 TR, the final year of the conquest of the Tears, the sages of the Vellum Citadel were expected to surrender without a fight. When the sages violently defended themselves in a prolonged siege, Kyros unleashed an edict of fire, reducing the library fortress to smoldering ruins. We did that.
We were worried you'd never make it. So glad that Drostus' demise didn't cause further delay.
The Archon of Secrets turns his attention to you. The frozen rictus, fashioned onto his bronze mask, greets you with a permanent smile. How do you know about Drasus? I only just came from the Edgering room. The Archon of Secrets chuckles softly, saying nothing.
The voices of Narad has all manner of eyes and ears. It's safer than not to assume he's listening. And before you
Interesting.
ask, no, I didn't tell him, so stop giving me that look.
I've come bearing an edict of Kyros.
For the second time, Brother Tunon selects you for the glory of proclamation. You should be honored. Tell us, what has the Overlord decided to unleash upon the Oathbreakers?
Alright, let's see here. How am I going to say this? The first one just seems the most diplomatic one. You know what? I'm going with the second one. They do need to work together. The earth sways with each word you utter, the air thickening with warmth as you pronounce the tersely phrased commandment. Its every syllable drafted by the hand of Kyros. With the edict proclaimed, your pulse quickens and the muscles in your legs, worn from a long trip down the mountains, feel renewed. The tired limbs now nearly buoyant with vigor.
The Overlord means to compel us into action. No doubt the avalanches in the mountains are part of this ultimatum. We must conquer the Oathbreakers or die in failure. There is no room for error, and no other way to this valley alive.
You got that right.
We'll need to advance across the Matani. We lose everything if we stand still. And we move to back up Plan Green. The Earthshakers didn't make it over the mountain in time. So we do this the hard way. Over the walls instead of through.
The Archon of War taps his finger against his temple. A low rumble escapes from under his beard.
So, you found your backbone at last. Oh, we were worried past humiliations would make you soft, timid. That was a record for you, right? The Baker's dozen lost in one sortie. If you had waited for the chorus reinforcements, maybe we'd have eyes and ears on the matter.
The Archon of Secrets passes his scepter from one hand to the next, and you hear the voices in your head. Watch him squirm. So many tears over replaceable, expendable, useless soldiers. I miss the old Archon of War. You'd never see blood echo in a blubbering mess over a few dead killers. He'd use the knuckle bones of his best disciples for jewelry, and even made a breastplate out of his dead brother's ribcage, because that's how a real man deals with grief. They call you the Archon of Secrets, but you certainly don't seem to know anything useful.
I second the Fatebinder. Thought you had the memories of one of those Oathbreakers rattling about that bronze gourd of yours. Would Kyros' mighty spy master please enlighten this gathering of allies with some scrap of strategic insight?
The Archon of Secrets turns his head to the side until the face of his mask has turned around and a new facet of the mask presents itself as facing forward. When the next Archon speaks, the trembling voice of a younger man can be heard.
Our river was to be the bulwark, but with the tidecasters slain, what hope remains? It's so cold in here. Help me, please.
The river was the bulwark. The use of the term Our River suggests this is the voice of the late Matni Genev, ranking member of the Vendrian Guard. The wealthy house of Matni owned much of the realm of Apex before the coming of Kyros, and the major river in the valley bears the Matni name. Okay.
Our sources tell us the Oathbreakers had some sort of magical trick in store, but this knowledge is tinged with fear. Trepidation. If we make a move for the Matani, we suspect the Oathbreakers will mount a counterattack that is equal parts valiant and futile.
That voice, who was it?
That was Matani Yanev, former
Yanev.
noble of Apex and one of the leaders of the Vendrian Guard. Respectable enemies that knew how to lose with dignity. When the Guard first surrendered, Yanev presented himself to us. What he knew, we now know.
Then enough talking. There's work to be done. My lord, Barrick and his band have been drilled on the Echo Call assault plan. The Crescent Runners should be briefing him as we speak regarding the latest enemy movements along the river. I will dispatch him at once. The Iron Marshal salutes, clapping her gauntlet to her breastplate. And I will ensure the chorus stands ready to march. If the disfavored can take the river, the chorus has the manpower to secure the outer ring of the valley.
Our soldiers clamor for battle, and at last we shall have it. Thus, we command you to continue guarding the Fatebinder. Tunon's chosen is our honored guest, and must be shown our finest hospitality.
I won't let you down, boss. He'll get through the campaign in one piece, as long as he doesn't do anything too stupid.
And, Fatebinder, one last thing. We still haven't forgotten how you handed over our agents to the disfavored just before the burning library sparked into being. We would be a fool to believe that Tunon sent us an impartial Fatebinder, but prove us wrong. Prove us wrong.
I probably won't be impartial. I'll probably be more partial to you because they're a bunch of jerks. The Archon twirls his scepter one last time, and you hear voices in your head. Suit yourself, Fatebinder. The more you ignore us. Then taps the fifth eye on the shoulder, and the two depart.
Fine. The fool and his puppet are gone. Perhaps now I can hear myself think. Rarely do I question Kyros' judgment, but I will never understand why the voices of Narot is given such authority. I shudder to think what will become of us all should Tunon favor him in the end. Though the edict threatens the Scarlet Chorus just as it threatens us, I cannot shake the feeling that our allies will work against us. You've shown your worth in war, and your name has been known to the Legion since the very beginning of this long conquest. So I'd ask that you join us this one last time to help us wrap up this last objective. If you wish to be counted amongst the glorious, speak with the Iron Marshal. She will direct the order of battle until we are ready for the final push into the Citadel.
I'm short a few scouts, short a few soldiers, and short a few everything. I'm sure my brethren will be grateful for the assistance of a skilled outsider. And what of the Scarlet Chorus? How will they be helped?
I ask myself that question often. While we take the river crossing, the Scarlet Chorus should be using their sizable presence to remove the Oathbreaker patrols lurking in the outer valley.
That should probably be done first. I'd be honored to help. The Iron Marshal salutes Graven Ash, then turns to leave the tent. I will be at the training grounds readying the soldiers. Find me there when you are ready. She pauses, clearing her throat. And though I am loath to mention it, the chorus can likely use your assistance. They certainly won't secure the outer valley on their own. Fifth Eye will be somewhere in that rat's nest they call a camp due east. Seek him out if you must. Don't just coddle the impact, push back with your shield. Take the momentum. Iron Marshal Auranios, field commander of this favored, pounds her fist in the air as she calls out to the warriors on the training field. I set eyes on your opponent's waistline. If you spend more than a glance checking his footwork, you've lost. Fatebinder, welcome to our camp. The disfavored officer nods at your approach. Shame you are here to solve another disagreement between what should be allies. Though I trust you will once again judge in favor of the hardest working and the most courageous. This is the Iron Marshal, leader of the Iron Guard, chief of Graven Ash's inner circle of trusted advisors. You first came to know the Iron Marshal during invasion of the Bastard Tier. Unable to share the plunder of the countryside, the Scarlet Chorus and the disfavored came to you to help settle the chaos of their supply lines. Having awarded the supplies to the elite disfavored, you helped the Iron Marshal keep her warriors fed throughout the conquest. It was mentioned you're short on warriors and need help. What's the situation? At brigades amassing along Placid, Echo Call, and Little Tooth Crossing. The Vending Guard may be able to hold one bridge, but they cannot hold against a concorded three-pronged attack. I have no right to give you orders, but her words falter, a short cough breaking her flow. but we all die to keep by a Kyros edict should we fail. So I'm not about to let my pride blind me to the value of good help. This is the second major attack on the river, correct? What happened last time? Defeat in detail. We carved a bloody path up to the river, but at that point everyone who charged ahead was lost. We had no chorus backup. It was just a few disfavored squads. I can't tell you exactly how they were defeated, but we lost the whole assault team. She shakes her head, letting out a long pained sigh. We found bodies washing up the river for days. It's not often the Tearsmen put up such a good fight. It certainly made us reevaluate the number we'll need to take this valley. Really? Are you sure our scouts didn't give you all sorts of details about the enemy and you just chose to disregard our warnings? Sounds like your lack of caution is to blame, not the Scarlet Chorus. Lack of caution? My legion is my family. I do not play loosely with their lives. The only blame here is on the Oathbreaker. It is their intransigence that created this conflict in the first place. There's no need to blame your teeth, at least. I can hear them grinding from over here. What's the value of taking the crossing? We can't just march from here to the Citadel with the Vendrian Guard manning the river banks, fording troops and supplies through even the narrowest points of the river makes us vulnerable to attack, especially since our armor wasn't built for swimming. She points north toward the mountain spire looming on the horizon. If we can take the river, we have a clear march to the Citadel, and Ascension Hall will be ours in no time. I will assist. Then our plan just might work. The Iron Marshal lifts her gauntlet close to her face, shifting her eyes from you to the metal articulations. We are loath to work with those who do not share our training and our values, but we know that Tunon, the Educator, selects only the most capable minds for his court, and I trust you will honor us all on the field. Antio will be leading the charge at Echo Call Crossing. Assisting you will be Barrick of the Stone Shields. She points to a heavily armored soldier standing sentry at the edge of the training field. Before you ask, no, the Forge-bound weren't sloshed on Dappleseed when they fitted his armor. He survived the full force of the Edict of Storms, and this armor doesn't exactly come off. Tactically, it's quite brilliant, but otherwise, it's something of a curse. Tapping her helmet twice, Irenio signals to the hulking presence. Barrick, come meet the Fatebinder. Barrick, the soldier that steps up to you better resembles an amalgamation of rusted blades and mismatched pieces of armor fused into a vaguely human shape. He reeks of sweat, feces, and whatever oil treatment keeps him flexible. Man, he looks badass, but apparently he don't smell badass. Or maybe he does smell badass.
Fatebinder, the Iron Marshal has tasked me with keeping you alive, and I have no intention of disappointing her. That should be enough assurance for anyone.
An honor.
Barrick, is that you under there? I had no idea you were in Vendrian's well. Fatebinder, do you know this walking anchor?
Just a minute. You do know each other?
No. Well, that is to say, yes. I'm already as familiar with this ironclad halfwit as I care to be.
He regards Barrick with a mixed look.
We don't have time to trade jabs today, Verse. After the siege, you can throw as many tantrums as you please. I suggest that we remain focused on the mission.
No offense to the mission, but seeing you looking like a garbage heap and reeking of a mass grave is more amusing by far. Did you forget how to don your armor, or did Graven Ash leave you out in the rain?
Barrick sighs, a frustrated growl shaking his iron enclosure of a suit. I know him as well as I knew anyone during the conquest.
That can change. When the Tears are fully under our command, I'll take you to whatever passes for a watering hole in this forsaken country. We'll drink the local swill to honor the fallen.
Forget the fallen. I know a great brothel in Lethian's Crossing where we can watch something rise, then fall, then rise again.
It's amazing that the woman wants to go to the brothel, and the man just wants to go have a drink of water. The Fatebinder will be joining us for the push across the river. I figured an extra hand might help, and then, more importantly, if my worries come true and the chorus tries to impede the mission, we will have an observer from the court on our side.
It's just my luck that I'm assigned to one of Tunon's legal clerks. I'm sure you think the rules don't apply to you, but I'm counting on you working with me and my squad to stop these oathbreakers.
I asked that Barrick accompany you there to arbitrate the cooperation between his company and the Scarlet Chorus. Barrick, you've been without a cohort since the last Battle of Stalwart. It's time we gave you a task more worthy than hauling wagons and leading training drills. She plants her hands on her hips and speaks in clipped official terms. Ash has assigned you to the Fatebinder service. You're to assume this task is ongoing until we find a more permanent spot for you, which could very well mean the swiftly approaching end of this war, or when the Fatebinder dismisses you. Is that understood? Barrick regards the Iron Marshal in oppressive silence. That's an order, Barrick. She shakes her head and sighs, returning her focus to you. He can be stubborn as pulling a spire out of the earth, but he's a good soldier. I hope you don't mind the company. I'm honored to have a member of the Iron Legion at my side. Excellent. I look forward to your success on the field. Well, I completely forgot that he can't take any of his equipment off, so I kind of bought a helmet for 4 gold, found out he can't wear it, and sold it back for 2 gold, and lost 2 gold in the doing, so go me.
Fatebinder, you look like you need to talk.
Barrick nods to you.
What can I do for you?
I'd like to know more about you. I am the line your enemies cannot cross. All other details are meaningless, but I suspect you have some thirst for details, so ask anyway. Did you seek the trade of war, or did it find you? Both, I suppose. I knew fighting was in my blood, and the disfavored offered me a chance to use my skills to bring peace. Otherwise, I'd have wound up some brigand or an enforcer to a crooked merchant. Barrick taps his scabbard, looking away in thought. You think Ash and his legion bring peace? That's cute. But it doesn't hold water from where I'm standing, big guy. I've seen them spill as much blood as any chorus gang. You've clearly been too busy sacking villages and stealing crops to notice how a proper army conducts a war. We sow order, not discord. You two are worse than Ash and the Voices. Stop this at once. Drawing himself up, Barrick glares at you with distaste. Speaking ill of the great general is not wise while I am in earshot, Fatebinder. Hey, the boss has a point. Trading jabs is fun, but it's not going to get us anywhere. Verse chuckles and shakes her head. May I continue my story, or do you plan on interrupting again? Barrick waits until Verse makes a rude, dismissive wave before continuing. The disfavored needed recruits in anticipation of the march south. They offered to care for my mother and brother as long as I stayed with the Legion, which is better a guarantee than you'll find anywhere else. I was an elite fighter as far as most were concerned, though still green by disfavored standards. Luckily for everyone, my skills improved under the Iron Marshal's rigorous training. Tell me about your name. Barrick is a shortening of my northern surname, which has been passed down through the generations since Graven Ash assembled his army. I go by it because I wear it with pride. The proper form is Barraconin. Beyond its age and association with the General's Legion, the name of Barraconin has no great titles or associations. I hold no claim to a great house or legacy, save for the disfavored. They are all the kin I need. What's the story with your armor?
It is a symbol of Kyros' will, one that I am not likely to forget. I found this armor. Perhaps it would be better to say that it found me during the Edict of Storms.
It's not very good armor, and hopefully one day we can get it off you. What happened during the Edict of Storms? When we heard that Kyros would proclaim the edict, we rushed into the field to battle the forces of Stalwart. I was shoulder to shoulder with some of the Legion's most decorated veterans, and my pride blinded me to the danger. Our march was a hasty one. A cohort of disfavored soldiers vanished in the second year of the war, among them the daughter of the Graven Ash. After a long silence, we learned that she was held in the fortress of a sentinel stand. Go on. As we surrendered the citadel, I heard the opening peals of thunder. as did the scout I was busy trying to kill. Then the winds hit like an avalanche. Many of us begged Kyros for deliverance. What else were we to do? The winds knocked the legs of our offensive out from under us. All the decorated soldiers I brought to the battle were swept up and dashed to pieces, their armor and bodies mixing with the dirt of a tornado that spun in maddening revolutions. A piece of the citadel wall broke off and nearly crushed my skull. I only remember a few scattered moments from the storm, like the flying bits of bronze and iron cutting my flesh, the severed limbs of fallen soldiers tumbling through the air. Eventually I woke up, thinking myself trapped under rubble. When I rose and felt like I was buckling under my own weight, that's when I realized I was stuck, right and truly stuck, inside this heap of scrap. What happened to Ash's daughter after the edict hit? She was trapped behind the walls of Sentinel Stand, imprisoned by Kyros storm as well as the fortress itself. 1,000 soldiers standing shoulder to shoulder could not have endured those winds to rescue her. How did you survive when everyone else fell? That is a mystery to me. Did Kyros hear my plea for mercy? Did this heap of scrap metal protect me, imprison me, punish me? He rose the back of his helmet with his gauntleted hand, a pantomime of a gesture his armor prohibits. I don't have enough fingers or toes to count the possible reasons, so I try not to dwell on them. You're genuinely stuck in there? Haven't you tried taking it off? I made attempts in the past, even had one of the beast haulers pull on the helmet while another pulled on my boots. The men in the phalanx have taken great pleasure in trying to find ways to liberate me. In time, I grew weary of the struggle. Sometimes I feared that removing the armor would be to question Kyros' judgment and risk a more odious curse. Looks like pretty solid protection. That would be an understatement, if only it protected me from foolish questions. Merrick regards you in such a way that you can tell he's rolling his eyes. A forlorn sigh escapes his helmet. Do you handle your own repairs? I try to keep the surface oiled to slow the spreading rust, and I bend the plates from time to time. But repairs? Maintenance? No. Back to my questions about you. As with all disfavored, I assume you grew up in the Northern Empire. That's right. I grew up in Battle's Rest, then trained at Fort Resolution before they marched me out to support the second cohort. I hope to spend my resting years in Fretton Shores, unless, of course, I die in glorious battle, which would be preferable. Would you like to discuss removing your armor? He looks at you for a long time, his expression unreadable as ever.
Though we are encouraged to couple and mate within the Legion, I don't consider you one of my cohorts. I think I'll decline.
What? I wasn't talking about sex bear.
You weren't. Forgive me. It's been some time since anyone made an advance. I'm long out of practice, as you can see.
He knocks on his iron codpiece with a resounding clang.
Suffice it to say, my armor and I will not be separated for the time being. When the war is over, perhaps Tunon will lend me one of his forge-bound. Until then, here I remain.
I assume at some point we're going to try and free him from this armor. That'll probably be within the storyline. I would assume. I don't know.
My armor saved me from the destruction of Stalwart, where thousands of others lost their lives. So you can see why I continue to wear it. For the time being, we will not be separated.
Are you comfortable in there? I have somehow developed enough calluses that I can sleep at night, but I wouldn't call that comfort, would you? This is my armor. It has everything it needs and more. Purpose, meaning, strength. If it were comfortable, that would only take away from its other qualities. Do you even want it removed? I would not speak of this now, Fatebinder. Please, consider the topic closed. As your commander, I am concerned about the state of your uniform. Damn it, you are right to be concerned. My apologies that you needed to pull rank. It was wrong of me to withhold information. I don't need to tell you that this suit of junk is a literal pain in my ass. Half broken, smelly, of midden and perpetual jabbing my side with some Kyros be damned caltrop. These dusty plates may not be up to standard, but they serve the disfavored well enough on the battlefield, if only to intimidate the enemy. Better for me to endure this condition than to shirk an advantage. Consider that I wore this as I marched across the battle bones of Stalwart. That was my burden growing heavier with each step. I have no desire to leave it behind. It's a lesson, a reminder, and yes, a prison. But all of those things make it something more. These plates have something of me in them. They are as wicked as a bramble patch, as stubborn as a fortress, and hopelessly flawed. At present, removing my armor is not an option. If that ever changes, I suspect that the tiers will tremble with the impact of my collapsing fortification. What a day that will be. What does Graven Ash think of your predicament? I suspect that he doesn't. Not to besmirch the great general, he has larger matters to consider than any one soldier's woes. His shrug sends a puff of debris clattering to the ground. How long do you think it can last? The armor hasn't shown any sign of weakening, and my maintenance regimen is all that keeps it from rusting solid. Were I to stop applying oil and give in to entropy, this shell would harden to a degree that no forge master has ever seen. I think it could very well stand for as long as the old walls, with my skeleton peering out from the depths, and someday not even that. Now, isn't that a cheery thought? Tell me about what you can and can't do. I can strike fear into the hearts of our enemies and protect a shield wall with my very body. What more do I need? How do you vacate your bowels? Let us say I manage, and manage poorly. The parts of this misbegotten thing I can reach are in better repair than the ones I can't. How do you take pleasure from life? Are we actually talking about this Fatebinder? Do you have nothing better to do than wonder how I access my nether regions for a frenzied bout of self-interest? I don't want to hear this. How do I even run far enough to avoid it? First plugs her ears and winces against the inevitable. Well, I can't, and not from a lack of trying. My works are inaccessible from the outside, and as much as I've tried to worm my way out of this sleeve of iron, I would only succeed in dislocating my shoulder. How do you fare in water? Better to ask, how do I sink? The answer is quickly. Water passes my lips easily enough, though I take great care to keep it from anywhere else. Back to my other questions. Go on, I'm only getting rustier standing here entertaining your curiosity. Have you fought in any notable battles? I served in Stalwart for the better part of a year, faced the enemy everywhere, and from Coral Run to Sentinel Stand, I lost count of the battles. Seems like we fought every other day. I saw echoes in the cavern of his helm. Some of our best victories took place there, fighting an enemy worthy of our iron. But we were not all successful enough to please the Overlord, and the final intervention was harsh on us all. Eric takes in a deep breath, his arms folding as his posture stiffens. I had an unusual view of the Edict of Storms. Kyros' judgment left its mark on me, yet considering how we fought at Stalwart, with the skill and honor of legend, only the Edict is remembered. A shame. Graven Ash is a general of the disfavored, a veteran of centuries of battle, and an archon without peer. I would follow him into the void and back without question. Beric swings his arm in salute. How did he come to serve Kyros? Before uniting the Northern Empire, Graven Ash served as a warlord in the service of one of the local kings that defied Kyros' rule. Incredibly as it may seem, Ash stood against Kyros' rule. Though his army was dismantled by Kyros' overwhelming numbers, Ash's forces performed admirably. It was said that he and his troops claimed 77 lives for each of their own. Seems like a tall tale. Kyros took an interest in the military genius that bloodied his army. Graven Ash was summoned to a conclave of archons, and though he was sent in chains, he left as an archon, having granted a position of power in Kyros' great host of war. Thus the disfavored were born. All of us today trace our line back to those warriors that impressed Kyros with their will and tenacity. The only difference is now we fight on the winning side. Though the general seldom speaks of it, I know that Ash humbled himself in order to spare his troops the brunt of Kyros' punishment. His loyalty to the old blood of the North is beyond question. He made the right choice to save his troops. Yeah, what's the point of fighting to the death when you're just going to lose? When you can join and or bend your knee and grant mercy to the people who fight for you. And he would make it again to save any of us. There has never been a more devoted and attentive leader. Beric makes a proud fist and steps to a salute with the forceful clatter of pots and pans. Yeah, I would see joining up with the enemy and sparing your soldiers death as a very noble thing to do, because your spared soldiers can become their citizens, farmers, and lead great lives. What else do you know of his past? I follow him in battle. I am not his personal scribe, and if I did know more of him, it would not be my place to say. Beric takes a half step back, folding his arms across his chest. As an Archon, what magic does he wield? Ash works his magic through us, his soldiers. When we do battle, Ash seems to know the events even before our runners have given word. Most importantly, though, he protects us. It's a bit tricky to explain unless you've experienced it. I can think of countless times I've been struck by a spear, or hit with an axe, or even run through with an arrow. In each of those moments, the pain and injury just cease to be. None of us know how he does it, or how he can sense that we're in danger and intervene from afar. But I suppose that's why he's an Archon. What he does probably wouldn't make sense to someone like me. How do you feel about Graven Ash? How do I feel about him? Archon Ash is the bravest, warmest, most compassionate general who have ever lived. He's a living icon of leadership and courage. Beric tilts his head slightly to the side as far as the suit's limited range of motion permits. Ash is a soldier, but he doesn't kill for sport. A leader, but he doesn't issue commands to hear himself talk. He demands discipline and sober conduct of his troops, and I applaud such standards. Oh my god. This is long. What can you tell me about your time in the Legion? I joined the Legion 3 years before the conquest of the Tiers began. Though handy with a few weapons, my size made me the perfect addition to a phalanx. I have served with the Stone of Shields ever since. Proud to say I've stood front row, right corner in over a dozen battles. That has been my place ever since the Iron Marshal gave me the assignment. The Bastard City, the Gates of Judgment, Vendrian Pass, Ocon's Ring, a quick tour in Barrison Chains, and then Stalwart. I spent a long time in Stalwart. Lost a lot of friends there. What are the other disfavored lieutenants? They are Graven Ash's most trusted officers and warriors of the Iron Guard. Between Ash's arcane powers of command and his cadre of gifted leaders, there is little confusion or chaos in the ranks. Tell me the one they call the Iron Marshal. She takes it upon herself to train and harden our greener recruits. Not only that, she has a keen eye for talent and how to foster it for leadership. She is the youngest member of the Iron Guard. Her family line served the disfavored back before Ash bowed to Kyros. Say what you will of how many seasons she's weathered. Her lineage is impressive beyond measure. As tall as the hills, Cairn is the Archon of Stone, master of the earth and soil, destroyer of the mountains and cities. Cairn is the reluctant leader of the Earthshakers Guild. Though he is less their teacher and more their object of study, the massive Archon is sworn to Graven Ash and provides arcane support to the disfavored war effort. What of Cairn's disciple, Radix? An Earthshaker who swore the service to Cairn a few years before the conquest. Since Cairn is gone, the cult now follows Radix. Unlike his Archon, at least he knows how to follow orders. To his credit, Radix seems to appreciate the honor of fighting alongside the disfavored. Cairn was always peeved to be invited in the glory. The mages seem a necessary complication. They are insubordinate and can't lug their own supplies, but I would not want to go to war without their spells of tremor and leaping stones. What of Scoutmaster Merrick? Merrick is a devoted leader, and Ash seems to hold his council in high regard, both setting their troops ahead of themselves, which I'm sure is why they work so well together. What of the veteran warrior Veramis? He is the finest of us, second only to Ash. Veramis is an evocatus, a soldier who lived to see the end of his term of service. It's rare for anyone to survive that long, much less willingly return. These days, he lends a tactical expertise to Graven Ash, though by all rights he should be enjoying his twilight years in a seat of honor and dignity. Why didn't the Legion prevent the uprising at Vendrian's Well? I think that's a question you ought to ask the Scarlet Chorus. They were too charged with ensuring the locals remain vanquished and unarmed. Barrick lurches forward as he speaks, iron plates grinding under his motion. I would say the Vendrian Guard are the only really guilty party. It was their rebellion after all. That is a supposition unworthy of you, Fatebinder. The Tears are but children before Kyros. We don't blame them for their ignorance, but the responsibility to set them straight is ours alone. What more can you tell me of the Legion? The disfavored accept only the finest warriors. We are all volunteers and soldiers by trade, not farmers and fishmongers pressed into service. There is a century of tradition, honor, and tactical mastery in our ranks. We don't just let anyone into the Legion. Only Northmen of character and prowess are welcome. What if capable Tearsmen wish to join? We would not recruit even a champion of the Tearsmen. Each soldier in the Legion is tied by blood and fealty to those that stood with Graven Ash during the coming of Kyros. That is part of who we are, and that will never change. Why is the Legion called the Disfavored? It is a name born in shame, now worn in honor. After Graven Ash stood against Kyros, he was forced to give up much, his allegiance, his pride, and the name of his vaunted army. What was the Legion originally called? The name has been forgotten by all save Ash and Kyros, and is considered bad form to bring up the topic. Since you didn't know any better, I'll say this much. Disfavored is the only name by which one needs to know us. I have some questions about the Scarlet Chorus. Our allies do not share the disfavored sense of honor and discipline. The Chorus will trust any criminal, rapist, or half-wit with a truncheon or blade. What would you like to know about the Scarlet Chorus? What do you know of the voices of Nerat? The Archon of Secrets? All I know is rumors, hearsay, speculation, but that is much as anyone knows of the voices. Some accounts tell that he's actually dead, and the Overlord has trapped the minds of his foes in the same body to torture them all, as likely explanation as any I've heard. In truth, I know little of the voices, and have reason to suspect almost anything about him could be true. You could tell me his tears turned cheese back into milk, and it would seem more sensible to believe you than not. Do you know anything of his powers? I'm no scholar of sorcery, but as I understand it, the voices of Nerat is a thief of minds. They say he can swipe your thoughts and make them his own. I don't know how it works. When I recruited into the Disfavored, the Iron Marshal told me never to take an audience with the voices if I didn't have a witness on hand. Do you think him disloyal? I really shouldn't comment on such matters. Barrick looks ahead blankly and then clears his throat. I'm not actually going to say that. What do you know of his associate, the Archon Siren? Siren of the Archon Song is and one of the youngest of her rank. She can influence human emotion with her voice alone. The voices may be the conductor of the chorus, but I'd argue Siren is their best weapon. Yeah, I would agree with that. If she has the power of to basically make people do what she wants, then yeah. The voices put her talent to good use. He had her singing a song up and down the coast, and the tearsmen defected into the chorus in droves. Back to my other questions. What can you tell me about their troops and tactics? Tactics? These are all the first I've heard of them. The chorus is more of an irregular mob than a proper army. Still, it's a well-armed mob, and they even have a few proper warriors and magicians in their pitiful excuse for ranks. What do you know of their warriors? Most chorus rats are trained peasants handed a knife or a pitchfork. It doesn't take much to qualify you for their front lines. One only needs a beating heart, and even the chorus could make do. Of course, not everyone in the chorus is an infirm child or a sickly old crone. Some ex-soldiers and madmen join, and the fighting elite of the chorus form a clique, known as the Scarlet Furies. Berg is too dismissive by far, but he's right. The most recruits are novices pressed into service. Most will not survive the first few battles. Those who live will have experience to lead, and those who fall can easily be replaced. What sort of magic does the chorus use? The blood chanters are the mages who follow the voices of Narat, like the chorus itself. Their order is not steeped in tradition and antiquity, rather they're built on knowledge stolen from other guilds. Their fire magic earns them a place on the battlefield, but they also have chants that stir the mind and the heart. The more motherless sods have spells that can bolster a man's courage or tap into his fears. If the chorus is a mob, how is it led and supplied? The voices of Narat gives orders to his elite commanders, who in turn send instructions out to the gang captains. But beneath that hierarchy, it is chaos. Whole gangs will break from the larger force and disperse back into their homelands. The chorus is inefficient beyond words, and yet more bodies keep coming in to replace those lost in the mess. Insufficient. Every weakling lost in the shuffle is one less burden to those in the choir, still dancing to the song of battle. Our ways must be harsh, otherwise the stupid and the soft will inherit the chant. The chorus has a lot of mouths to feed, so the conscripts that can't or won't fight are made to gather food and water. Else, I'm told, they're fed to the pigs, becoming food and water in a sense. How do you think the Scarlet Chorus convinced so many tearsmen to join? It began with Seer. She had a song that got whole villages marching to her will. And once these peasants killed their neighbors and cousins in service of the voices, it either hardened them into warriors or broke their mind for servitude. Lots of criminals and drifters joined the chorus too. It seemed like the scum of the tears just need the promise of glory and sanctioned debauchery to turn on their neighbors. It's not pretty, and it shouldn't be. The chorus is a forge. All the dirt in the tears goes in, and the finest bits are refined into weapons. There are many that join the Scarlet Chorus, but because they wish to join the winning side. It's a shame that such patriots were not born to proper northern stock, too weak or too slight to be disfavored. The Scarlet Chorus is their best freedom from fealty to the younger realms. Not everyone has the fortune of gaining Tunon's favor. Better that the tearsmen serve Kyros in some capacity than have them rot in mass graves. It best served lugging grain for the disfavored, but you're certainly correct. Even the lowliest tearsman deserves the chance to serve, even as fodder for the front lines.
Good. Let's move on to another matter.
What can you tell me of the tears? Uphill both ways and full of dumb sods. I learned some history and training, and I've been here for a few years, but I'm no expert. What is your assessment of the local forces? There was a time in the early war when I would have feared the younger realms working together. Imagine that! He chuckles. Once I saw the modest scope of their defenses, I knew they would be easily outclassed. They couldn't even rally their best to make a competent stand. Tell me of the Vendrian Guard. That's making a competent stand right now. They used to be the Queen's Royal Army of Vendrian. I guess defeat inclined them to a shorter name. We crushed them back in 429, and I'm proud to say I took part in that decisive battle. You know the rest. A year after we thought them conquered, thousands of Vendrian Oathbreakers murdered the garrison, declared themselves free of the Overlord's rule. Tell me about the Unbroken. Unbroken Legion was a proud and accomplished army of the realm of Stalwart. Citing their victories as evidence of skill, they prided themselves on never facing defeat while fighting on home soil. After the Edict of Storms tore apart Stalwart and twisted it into the Blade Grave, barely a 20th of the Unbroken's former strength survived to continue the war against Kyros forces. The Unbroken Union of Stalwart, may they rot in the decrepitude of their fallen realm, Varric squeezed his gauntlet into a hard fist. Much as it pains me to admit it, in all the realms of tears, the Unbroken have been the only foe worthy to meet the disfavored in battle. The Unbroken value tradition just as we do. Stalwart has never lost a war on their own soil, a reputation that they take quite seriously. It is fortunate that Stalwart has poor relations with all its neighbors. The rest of the tiers will not come to their aid, so as bravely as they fight, their end is inevitable. What can you tell me of the Bronze Brotherhood? Bronze Brotherhood is a mercenary company from the free cities dotting the Tyr's southern coast. Many of these mercenary companies were employed by Kyros agents and slaughtered during the war. The Bronze Brotherhood survived thanks to their relative safe posting at Lethian's Crossing, where the Voices of Nurat hired the company to help protect the town's forge operation. Among the most trained and dedicated warriors of the tiers, the Bronze Brotherhood have a reputation for ruthlessness and tenacity. Aggression and decisive thinking are so highly prized by the Brotherhood that the violent, enigmatic Scourge is the group's mascot, a creature most decent folk consider the stuff of nightmares. The term brother is used for mercenaries of both genders, as the company's title harkens back to the archaic notion of living as men in Tyr's custom. This amounts to releasing all claims to lands to better assure an employer that the Brotherhood won't covet the realms they're paid to protect. Wow. Mercenaries from free cities. The chorus needed extra muscle, and you can always mint new rings. Hard to believe the tiersmen turned on each other for mere loops of metal. The Bronze Brotherhood worshipped the Scourges. Yes, those monsters from the old walls. These mercenaries are grown adults that willingly admire a magical abomination. Read into that what you will. That said, it should surprise no one that Bronze Brotherhood eventually wanted more than just rings and turned on their contract. Kyros now considers them an enemy, which is for the best. The Overlord needs a better class of combatants. What do you know of the Younger Realms? Before we marched on the Bastard Tier, I recall Graven Ash giving us a speech as we stood assembled at the Fort Resolution. He told us that the Younger Realms lacked the sense to make a stand against us. The realms of Azure, Apex, Stalwart, and Haven are collectively known as the Younger Realms, and together they represent the major political factions of the tiers. For centuries, the Younger Realms have battled amongst themselves for control of the tiers, with every realm having been at war with each other at some point in its memorable history. The lack of unified resistance allowed Kyros armies to swiftly conquer the tiers. I don't think I need to point out that the average tiersman is just plainly inferior to the sons and daughters of the North. For every one of ours they kill, we must drag 1.5 scores bleeding into the soil with us. It didn't help that they're afraid of magic. They relied on their battlefield prowess to stage a defense. What do you know of the Beastmen? They drilled us on beastman combat before the invasion, and it did little to prepare us. The local savages are lacking in brains, hygiene, and ability to arm themselves, yet the prime hunters of their species are formidable. Aside from being rapacious killers, the beastmen make good haulers and laborers. Once you've killed the half that won't follow orders, that is. You seem like a more than capable fighter. I trained with the spear and the shield in my youth, but gave it up the day I earned his favorite iron. I can still throw with some accuracy, but it's a challenge these days. He knocks twice on his helmet. Why? Were you interested in a sparring lesson? I heard rumor that Ash has an unbeatable sword fighting technique. Nothing is unbeatable. However, I am not of a mind to share Ash's trainings to an outsider. I mean no offense. Show me how a northerner would impale a wild boar. Take no offense from this. I would prefer to keep my fighting techniques private for the time being. They are as personal to me as family secrets, even though you offered. So perhaps later, since you won't do what you offered to do. How do you do that? Do what? Back in the Archon's war tent, you cast an edict as casually as reading a supply shipment. How did you do that? Well, I've done it before. You cast the edict of fire on the Vilum Citadel. I heard about it. How Kyros' anger raised a volcano from under the sage's own fortress. That was some impressive work. That was me, all right. Well, call me impressed. Considering that you've read the words of Kyros more than once, I'm surprised that you're even alive to tell it. Your vocal cords should have turned to ash by now. I'm not trying to make you feel uncomfortable. It's just worth recognizing you've done what you've done. Not only are you Tunon's Fatebinder, you're the mouthpiece of the Overlord. Gives me plenty of reason to stick around. You're going places, and I want to see where they lead. If you say so, I have some
What do
questions.
you need?
We'll talk later. I'm not doing that right now.
What did you have in mind?
Oh my god, I didn't mean to slip that. 8 days until Kyros' Day of Swords. Cool. So that's our timer. So we learned all about Barrick, and later we'll learn all about Verse. I'm not doing that right now because holy wow, that was a lot of reading. The edict draws near. Preparations are almost complete, but we weren't moving fast enough. Hey! She looks past you, yelling at a soldier far afield. I said round up those javelins, not a suggestion. She folds her arms, looking at you expectantly. Who's the strongest warrior in your cohort? Modesty demands I admit myself, but if I had to form the Legion into one giant phalanx, I'd have Severus the Younger and Barrett take the corner. Sevius has been at this since before I was born, and Barrett, well, she hesitates. Well, what? Neither deaf nor fragile. Say what you're going to say. I was going to say that you're perhaps one of the best warriors in the outfit, but good luck getting you to wear your regulation uniform. You're a good soldier, Barrett, but you know you're a pain in the ass. I'm honored to be assigned one of your finest. The honor is mine. When the campaign is over, I hope you'll accompany me in hanging more Vendrian savages along the road. Think of the stories we'll have to trade. What can you tell me about Ascension Hall? Kyros' edict is directing us to take Ascension Hall. That's what the locals call the inner sanctum of the citadel built at the base of the mountain spire. She points to the east, toward the narrow vertical line of stone that rises above all other points in the horizon. It's also the base camp for the Vendrian Guard, so taking an Ascension Hall has always been one of our objectives in putting down this insurrection. But now we have a life or death reason to make that citadel our one and only focus.
That's far enough, Fatebinder.
A woman's voice booms from atop a nearby outcropping. Flashes of aquamarine body paint peek out from under her loose-fitting traveler's garb, and her outfit is festooned in braids and knots of a sailor's line. The blue body pigment, bladed staff, and complex braided attire are the traditional trappings of the School of Tides. According to Fatebinder Rogalis, the majority of the school fled before the coming of Kyros. The remainder were last seen during the first campaign of Vendrian's Well. The School of Tides traditionally studies the magic of water and grave light, the art of directing the moon's arcane light into baleful, searing energy. So she's probably pretty powerful. Flanked on either side by warriors dressed in Vendrian Guard regalia, the woman leans on an elaborate blade staff pulsing with the arcane energy. A swath of blue fabric. The blue flag is a symbol of diplomacy and a truce recognized across most of the known world, and it is a custom the Tiersmen hold dear. To harm another person under the auspices of a blue flag is a grave offense. And both the Tiers And in Kyros Empire, the customary punishment is death. A swath of blue fabric rests draped over the arm.
In accordance with ancient customs north and south, I offer and request a delay of blade. There are matters we must discuss without fear of reprisal.
The woman bows deeply, lowering her head in a practiced display of etiquette. The warriors by her remain in a ready stance, their nerves clearly on edge. In accordance with ancient customs north and south, I abide by this
As is our custom, we are ready to kill to defend our lands, but we kill only in fair battle. We don't slay our prisoners. We know this isn't Kyros' way, but we must have hope. A few of my kin have gone missing, and though they may have perished, I have to inquire on the off chance they still live. If Captain Tarkus Deimos still lives, we would negotiate for his release.
One of the leaders of the attack on Edring Ruins, Tarkus Deimos, was subdued during the battle. In accordance with the Scarlet Chorus request, you ordered Deimos conscripted into the Chorus. Tarkus Deimos is with the Chorus
Then if
now.
we see him again, it will have to be as enemies.
She looks to the warriors to either side of her, shaking her head.
If I may make one more inquiry, what of Palox Tyrell? Did he survive?
Though you rarely have the luxury of matching names to the countless tearsmen you've encountered, you are reasonably certain she is asking about the Vendrian Guard warrior that took Drastus hostage at the Edring Ruins. He did not survive the encounter. Felix Tyrell is dead. She nods slowly, saying nothing for a long moment.
My apologies, Fatebinder. I had a terrible feeling this errand was in vain from the start. I had no expectations that our friends could be saved, as I'm sure the time for swapping prisoners is long gone. But at least I know of what became of them. That'll have to be enough.
Sorry you did not find what you were seeking. I have some questions for
You
you.
shouldn't be socializing with oathbreakers.
I will entertain them as best I can. After all, understanding is the only hope we have. What is it you wish to know?
Why do you resist Kyros? What are you trying to say?
I grew up without my knee bent to Kyros, and if I'm going to bow to someone, let it be another tearsman. We've ruled ourselves just fine for centuries, so we'll give our lives so that our sons and daughters might rule themselves.
The younger realms were beset with constant battle. You prefer that to Kyros' order?
You make conflict sound like a bad thing. Yes, the younger realms saw frequent battles, but it was never this wholesale slaughter like we've seen of late. No tearsman ever cast an edict on the soil, or forced prisoners to kill each other, or butchered beastmen tribes.
Good point, but conflict is a bad thing. Only your daughters are really free in the tiers. Why fight against Kyros equality?
There's freedom, then there's trusting idiots with power. Give a man 1,000,000 marauders, he'll lose sleep worrying over his neighbor's 1,000. I prefer my realms ruled by the braver sex. For centuries we've let the lands to the women and the seas to the men, and we did plenty fine until Kyros came around.
But a mage like you would not be subject to such superstition and fear under Kyros' reign.
I doubt life is any better sworn to some mad archon. I'd rather stand with my fellow tearsmen. I suppose, stand immediately behind them in the event of an attack.
At that remark, the soldiers flanking her exchange shocked looks. Ebb turns to her focus to her compatriots.
Yeah, you heard me. The way things were years back, you'd all be calling me a water witch and conspiring to sell me out to the nearest sage. Just because I'm helping you stop Kyros doesn't mean I've forgotten the hospitality of ages past.
And people wonder why the tearsmen could never unite in time to fight back. It's refreshing to see that some things never change.
I'm not going to tell her what makes you think she have a chance. That'd just be cruel. How did you and your friends overthrow the garrison?
I would joke that the voices of Narat left the gate unlatched, but dozens of warriors lost their lives taking the citadel. There was no secret to it. We simply attacked with speed and certainty at a time when the archons were elsewhere in the tiers. The Scarlet Chorus had a rout, and what few disfavored soldiers were present made an impressive showing. But they were surrounded and overwhelmed once the chorus fled.
Who's in charge of this insurrection?
Listen to you, thinking just like the Overlord wants you to think. There always has to be a person in charge, or things don't make sense. We don't answer to anyone. We are each of us sons and daughters of the Tears, and take this task upon ourselves freely. But Captain Tarkus Ari, former Falksman of Queen Vendry and Alanta, is the voice we trust when we seek unanimity.
So he's the one in charge of this. Yeah, okay. I assume Tarkus Ari and Tarkus Demos are relations.
Yes, Deimos was Ari's brother. We were certain he was dead, but the captain takes family seriously, so I volunteered to find some answers. And now here we are.
Were there prisoner swaps in the past?
That is our way, Binder. Here in the South, only thugs and bandits kill prisoners. The younger realms may be guilty of constant fighting, but we never slay each other when the battle's long over. We're not about to change that now. As a rule, Kyros' forces haven't been keen on swapping prisoners. But I know our disfavored prisoners aren't prisoners anymore. I just assumed they were swapped for some of our own. Fair enough. But now a question for you. The Edict. I can feel its magic coursing through the air. Everyone can. But those of us enlightened to the currents of magic feel it most. The wording of the Edict. What was it?
Kyros forces must take Ascension Hall by the day of swords, or all in the valley shall perish.
In the name of the vaunted North, the will of Kyros should be delivered with blade and hammer, not to the ears of oath-breakers and compromisers.
Curious. You did say all in the valley. So the edict will affect Kyros' forces? This is most unexpected.
Correct.
That is most troubling. So either the soldiers come to destroy and kill us, or the edict does the work. I suppose we should be so honored the Overlord is taking no chances on us. I've another question for you, if you will entertain it.
Are we really standing here and chatting with oathbreakers? It's hard to watch, like cuddling a goat you're going to kill for dinner.
Ask your question, Eb.
When I was young, my parents told me the Tears were special, and the Overlord's edicts and armies could never touch us. Seems I've been told a hefty sum of lies. So answer this honestly for me, please. Is it true that Tunon's Fatebinders can smell truth from falsehood?
No, that's not true.
Thanks for that. I could see why you'd want to foster the mystique all the same. The School of Tides would always tell commoners we didn't know how to summon drinkable water. Once they find out, you can't eat in peace.
Wonder if there's a way to join with them and fight against the tyranny. Because choices matter. This is interesting.
And Kyros' edicts. I have heard the sages speak at length that some of the edicts elsewhere in the world have been broken. How is this?
It varies based on the wording of the proclamation. If Kyros provides a clause allowing the edict to end, that clause can be satisfied.
Ah, so some edicts are forever. The rest are, as long as Kyros has in mind? Needless to say, Kyros' magic is unlike anything we've seen in any Archon. And one more mildly self-indulgent question, but I simply must know. Kyros, male or female?
I honestly do not know for certain.
Really? You don't know either? You work for the Overlord, but you don't know if she or he has an innie or an outie?
Would you feel better or worse to know you lost to a man or woman? Why does it matter?
You speak true. It ultimately matters not. My apologies. The question now seems rather foolish. You must remember, Kyros was just a horror story from distant lands for much of our lives. We have many unanswered questions. You'll forgive, I hope, the questions. The Overlord and his Archons used to be things of legend. Now they're everyday maladies, and I'm eager to separate the truth from the lies I've been told by house and guild. In accordance to our most ancient customs, let us depart in honorable accord. May peace find you, Fatebinder.
She bows deeply, pounding her staff on the ground twice before turning to leave. That was interesting. I learned a lot during that talk. And I don't know why he's mad that I told them about the edict. I mean, it's going to kill absolutely everyone, whether I tell them that or not. I tell them that everyone's going to die, maybe that they might surrender just on fear alone. You're following the road through an expanse of scrubby woodlands, crooked oaks and dry-needled pines grasping towards the sky, when you catch the sound of children's laughter filtering through the trees. Investigate the laughter. Abandoning the road, you make your way to a small tributary of the Mount Matani snaking through the sparse forest. There you discover a group of 4 youths gathered beside the small stream. 2 of the children sit on the rocks, poles in hand, staring patiently at the water. The other 2 are seated near a bucket, taking turns whacking eels along the ground to stun them and carving up eel meat. Speak to the children. You step out of the woods, drawing the attention of the children, who eye you warily. The eldest youth, almost a man grown, notes your heraldry and hawks a ball of phlegm into the reeds. Punish the spitter, tell a story, ask to sniggle, not sure what that is, ransom the children, return to the road, tell a story. You raise your hands to calm the youngsters and ask if they've heard the tale of Pox, the elder boar of the Burnian wood. When they look to one another without answer, you begin to spin the story for them, an odd and sometimes amusing yarn filled with epic adventure and dark mysticism. By the time you've finished, the youths have become entirely absorbed in your story, utterly wrapped in their attention. The youngest of the children brings you an eel in exchange for your time. You thank them and return to the road and continue your journey. Okay, I got more for Vendrian Guard. Okay, missives. Tyler, word has reached this court that you have issued the Overlord's edict to the Archons of War and Secrets. Know that we understand fully the weight of this burden and appreciate the loyalty you show in its declaration. Provided you survive this span, your service will be duly recognized. As you navigate the idiosyncrasies and mutual antipathy of our Overlord's War Masters, remember that Kyros watches all with interest. Those who distinguish themselves, whether Fatebinder or Archon, have the opportunity to rise in the Overlord's esteem. Even now, the northern courts whisper that the more successful of the 2 Archons will be granted rule over the whole of the peninsula. Similarly, your fortunes rest upon the decisions you make. Choose wisely. My fortunes rest upon the decisions I make. Let's request clarification. Archon Tuner, I am to understand the Edict of Execution applies equally to all within the Valley of Vendrian's Well, Tearsman and servant of Kyros alike. Is the Overlord truly willing to sacrifice both the Archon of War and the Archon of Secrets, their armies, the farmers and herdsmen of the region, and a Fatebinder of no small skill for the sake of killing a handful of insurgents occupying a crumbling ruin? Is it not said that the Overlord has no desire to rule over a wasteland? Fatebinder Tyler. The battle unfolds without us. Onward! Back over here. Maintain defensive posture. Winded. The disfavored commander clutches the blood-stained chest piece as he takes a deep breath, gathering his thoughts. His focus on the scattered, wounded men around him. He has yet to notice you. Your plan has been rousing success. Most of our troops dead, a bridge destroyed, and the Vendrian Guard pushed back to where we started. Our Vendrian Guard pushes back to where we started. Ladies and gentlemen, the finest the North has to offer. And for your next act? I needed those Furies on point. Don't mock my strategy after working against it. We could have taken them. What is happening? Shouldn't you be on the other side of the bridge? We tried to arrest the western bridge, blow for blow. We had them running. His gaze drops, alongside escapes, but halfway across, the whole damn river, just the blood chanter gesticulates, flailing for words, lurched up. The cursed Matani swallowed the bridge and most everyone on it. Only real soldiers we have left are the Scarlet Furies that I, quite wisely, directed into flanking position. A few of us kept our footing, but the advantage was lost. We had to fall back. As we did, the Oathbreakers surged down the East Bridge. We held ground until they fled back across the river, but now we're back to where we started, with only a fraction of our strength. A member of the School of Tides is alive and working with the Vendrian Guard. I assure you, she's the culprit. That would explain it. I saw a woman dressed in blue at on the other side of the river. Didn't seem like she fit with the others. Had we forced our strength into one perfect lunge, we could have crossed the bridge before the enemy knew what was killing them. But it's not too late. We can use the Scarlet Furies to... No! Fool! Stop suggesting ways to get my gang killed. Are you working for the Oathbreakers? We should wait until the enemy is no longer on high alert. If Antonio's plan isn't a good one, what would you suggest instead? There's a time for initiative and a time for patience. We should try a different part. We should try a different part of the river, or come back later. The enemy is too wary of us now. Are you in such a rush to see Kyros' edict come to pass? Sorry, Quip, but I'll strap you to my back and charge down the other bridge alone. But doing nothing isn't an option. Well, we can sit and wait for Kyros' edict to kill us, or we can do something. If this were a hearing of grievances, I'd let you call the shots, but we are talking about the lives of my gang. Conscripts are a copper a dozen, but Furies. I have worked hard to secure the loyalty of my gang. I will not scrap fine warriors on a buffoonish plan, and I don't blame you. That does seem a foolish plan to try and push past the river, and someone who can control it to kill you is there watching you. Antio is a moron. Well now, what would make me happy? The chanter taps his chin as he loudly sighs in full contemplation. Oh, I know, Fatebinder. Order Antonio here to beg for my help. Make sure he stresses how incapable he is and how critical it is that the chorus rescue him. Well, he is pretty freaking incapable. I will not stand for such insults. This assault is my command, and I'm not about to grovel for your service. He had to stomach the insult of losing warriors to your fool plan. Seems fair. I wish you wouldn't feed this one's ego. He deserves none of the satisfaction he'll take from this disgusting exchange. By Kyros' fist, Commander Antio turns his head aside, spitting through half-muttered curses. Fine. Oh, please help us, bitter Quip. Without your intervention, this disfavored mission will most certainly fail. He turns away from the chanter's impish grin to stare at you with searing irritation. Stretching out a smug victory, he rubs his belly with sated glee. If only I could capture those words in my water skin and have sips of your delicious failure in my days of despair. The chanter nods with a satisfied smile. Now that we have that settled, listen up. For this to work, my Furies need a moment to get out of cover. Fatebinder, you need to run up the east bridge. Don't get yourself killed, just draw their attention. I'll signal my Furies to send a rope across while you have them occupied. There's no time to waste. Let's hope your gang delivers. Antio turns to you, nodding with a heavy frown. Thank you, Fatebinder, and good hunting.
Heads up, we have company. Sit down before me.
Matani Sybil, you there! And you, signaling her warriors to the bridge, a woman in the regalia of a Vendrian Guard captain pierces the commotion with her shrill soprano. Get over here. The disfavored are back. Guess they forgot a javelin or two. Be a doll, would you? Hurl them back. Wait, none other disfavored. This is a Fatebinder. She looks you up and down. Odd. I would have expected. Well, just more soldiers, here to convince us to kneel down and lose our heads. Your heraldry, House Matani? Apologies that your river must be dirtied with this conflict. She lifts an eyebrow. I am honored, and will trust that all grievances wash downstream. She clears her throat, thrown by your formality. May the river guide you through the valley. Your friends seem to have misplaced most of their squad. Guess they're somewhere in my river? She shrugs sarcastically. My family's been protecting this river for 6 generations, so it's easy to lose track of all the looters and vagrants we've had to feed to the eels. Unless you want to try running a leap over, you're stuck. Maybe try heading downstream to Placid Crossing. We have more warriors there, and I'm certain they'd be just as happy to kill you. The tidecaster that did this, same one that met me for a truce? Trying to take stock of our crew? She lets out a loud snore, laughing to herself. We've had unexpected help of late. Kill and rape a realm enough, and everyone comes out of the woodwork to shiv you in the ear. Let us cross, and we will grant you mercy. Hold your oars a second. I have a statement prepared from Captain Airy for just this moment. She reaches into her belt and, with an impish smile, pulls her hand out to reveal nothing but a local hand gesture for penis. Wait, there's a second missive here somewhere. She feigns scouring her pockets once more and displayed a phallic gesture again. So she basically flipped us off twice. As amusing as I find this soon-to-be corpse, it would appear that our distraction has paid off. He nods off to the west. Satisfied, she turns to leave, calling out to you as she does. I wouldn't keep standing there, Fatebinder. The river currents are quite unpredictable. Well done. While you were toying with the Oathbreakers, my gang had the opportunity to set a rope on the collapsing bridge over yonder. The Furies wait to join you in battle. Good work. Your gang has salvaged this mess. We require no thanks for carrying the burden of the disfavored. It is too weak to lift. We are used to such things. Plan now is to lower that bridge. My warriors cannot swim in their armor. The lighter troops, he points squarely at you, can move across the rope, then lower the bridge. We'll meet you on the other side. Crossing by rope, are we? Barrett clears his throat and shifts his weight awkwardly. In that case, I might recommend that I go last. For once I agree with Antio. Bitterquip points across the water in animated alarm. My gang's been spotted. Go now, before they're overwhelmed. Okay, cross the river.
You learn something every day.
Do.
But I was dead for sure. Go on ahead, Fatebinder. I'm no more use to you. No, don't need to do that no more. Retreat! Captain Mentani signals for her troops to run to the nearby village. There's too many. They've crossed the river. Pull back! The Vendrian Guard soldiers rush forward and adopt a close formation, covering Captain Matani as she retreats toward the nearby settlement. Hold. I only wish to talk. The request goes unheeded, and the Vendrian Guard soldiers advance.
Will do. I got it.
Gang up on him.
Play.
I got it.
There we go. Excellent work, Fatebinder. We'll hold the bridge against any reinforcements. Best not to lose momentum. Push into the village. We'll join you as soon as we're able.
They're here! Run! Not a problem, boss. I'll tear your skeleton out by your ass.
Yeah, I'm sure you will.
The Vengeance Guard can't protect us! We must go!
Trouble is interesting.
You weaken. A tiny Sibyl's shrill voice pierces the air, a clarion call addressed not to you, but to the citizens of the village. Do not fear, sons and daughters of Apex. Kyros hounds are at our doorstep. The Vendrian Guard will not abandon you. Brave warriors of Vendrian Guard, these foreigners and sellouts mean to burn our homes and butcher our families. Summon what strength you have and show Kyros the price of taking our land. Several soldiers step out from half-closed doorways and dimly lit alleyways, fury blazing in their eyes. The partisans shout battle cries to marshal their courage. And you see the gray gleam of iron as they brandish their weapons and charge. How in the name of Ash did these hillfolk get their hands on iron weapons? Barrack regarded the locals with momentary panic and bewilderment before setting his stance for battle. So you're just going to send people on me and run?
Trouble is afoot.
You got it.
I got it.
Time to change weapons.
On it.
They're here, weapons up, and remember, those no longer with us. Honor them with your courage and prowess. Captain turns to face you as you approach. Fatebinder, we are proper warriors, are we not? This battle should remain between those of us who specialize in dealing death. Let the villagers go. They did not ask for this conflict. I'm not here for slaughter. I prefer to talk. Really? The trail of my dead friends say otherwise. What is there to say, Fatebinder? Unless it's sorry for all the murders, followed by a big swig of hemlock, it's too late for words to solve anything. The captain looks at you expectantly. Her soldiers stand ready, and the muffled cries of the villagers fill the air. My goal is to gain your surrender without bloodshed. That is a commendable notion, but a tragically simple one that, if any here could stomach life in the chorus, or submission to a disfavored work camp, that person already surrendered years back. The folks standing here before you are the ones serious about our freedom. Besides, we already reneged on surrender. I know any deal you've come to offer is just a trap, as the Archon's pride demands that they bury us. So sorry, but we've been at this too long. Death or glory. No third option. Run, all of you. We'll have to deal with my allies when they arrive in force. Binder, what do you mean by this dereliction of duty? I could see us letting the sick and infirm go to tell of our infamy, but these South Knobs took up arms against Kyros. That cannot be forgotten. We've beaten their warriors and shamed their captain aside for ancestral river. Never heard of winning graciously? From inside his hulking iron suit you hear but a small grumble, then Barrack falls silent. So you can have a moving target to make it interesting? She starts to laugh, the smirk faltering as your intent registers. Wait, we can buy Kyros codpiece, you mean it? Yes, I mean it. Run before it's too late. I will repay this. She nods to you, then turns to her crew, signaling for all to flee. The guardsmen and villagers scatter northward. Well done, Fatebinder. You bring honor to the court with your valor. Antio slowly nods as he looks out across the village. The captain, what became of her? If she still draws breath, the voices in her at would be most intrigued to speak with her in detail. I let her go, told her to send warning to her friends that I'll be coming. Really? He lifts an eyebrow, at first with a scowl, then upon reflection, a smile. Well, I would have liked to take her back as a prisoner. Perhaps we will be better served by her returning to her nest. There she will speak of what happened here, tearing away at what little hope remains. We may have lost several of our number at the river, but we picked ourselves up and made this work. Antonio nods to bitter quip, a reluctant smile across his face, then bows to you. May we always triumph. And what of this village? The locals could have trapped the houses, so too risky to commandeer the site. He shrugs, his tone becoming matter of fact. We shall burn the town, it'll cut off support, send a message, and the smoke signal will give the others visible rallying point when crossing the Matani. Did we just waste all that blood and time capturing this place only to torch it all? Now I adore the mystical power of fire in ways none of you could possibly understand. But even I think there's a time and a place for arson. Fatebinder, kindly tell Antio he's free to burn his half of the village. The Scarlet Chorus would like to keep our half of the spoils, not smoke it. Each choice here has a good and an evil go and allow them to run, but we burn their whole village. Or we can preserve the settlement, but enslave the whole village. Oh my god. Do I let them run and burn the place? Or do I preserve it and slave them? Settlement should be preserved, and any still here made slaves or conscripts. You place too much trust in these locals, especially after the last deception. The first chance they get, they'll turn coat and stab their gang boss in the back. That would only prove our point. These are competent fighters who are better put to work in Kyros' army. No boss who falls to a simple villager deserves to live anyway. Kyros' edict looms overhead, that we have nothing to do better to do with our time. The disfavored warrior shakes his head in a huff and turns to his squad. Hear that? The chorus just made this whole town their headache. Now start rounding up your gear. There's lots to do before we rest. A sensible decision, dear Fatebinder. If we hold to the disfavored's pogrom of raised soil, what will remain for us to rule? Bitterquip claps his hands, raising his voice to address his gangs. Seize this place, search the homes, take all that you can carry, give each survivor a chance at the voice's mercy, but to the ungrateful, be brutal. Fifth Eye needs your services dealing with the Oathbreakers in the Outer Valley, no? Well, when you are done with the Fifth Eye's request, the Archons will be gathering for another meeting at the disfavored camp. As our sole representative of the court, your presence will be required. Don't keep them waiting. So, we have discovered that there are no easy decisions. Like, absolutely none. Each decision seems to have a good point and an evil point, and it seems you're gonna make somebody happy and piss somebody off. As you can see, let's see here, Derek, he ain't liking me. But anyway, that's about all the time we have left for today. So far, the art in this game is absolutely bar none phenomenal. The story is very unique. I've never played a cRPG with this kind of story. We're basically playing the bad guys. I'm wondering if we can switch over to the Vendrian Guard, but we will see about that. You can get Ab as a companion, so I assume that you can switch to the Vendrian Guard. Not sure how these two will take it, but I assume you can. Yeah, there's just no simple decisions in this game. This just seems to be a one. Each decision has a good point and a bad point. It will make somebody happy, but piss somebody else off. It seems not really liking about anything that the disfavored do. I'm usually choosing the Scarlet Chorus. I didn't expect that out of me. I thought I'd be going with the disciplined army more often than not, but the disciplined army always wants to do something extremely brutal, so I'm usually going against that. Make sure you hit like on this video if you like it, hit dislike if you dislike it, and make sure you subscribe for more Tyranny videos coming in the future. We're going to keep playing this until we beat it, and I'll see you on the next one.